Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. It is going to be a great show planned for you folks. We have player ratings from the EA Sports video game coming out, college football video game. We actually have player ratings, the top 100 players as rated by EA Sports on the new college football video game. We'll talk about the Longhorns that are getting some love. We'll dive into that coming up here in this segment. Also, Team USA, the men's national team, they took on Canada last night, came away with a victory in that exhibition game. We'll talk a little bit about that. Everybody was really interested to see who would the starting five be for Team USA. So we'll dive into that and get into it a little bit. Also, we'll get to some NFL news, notes, and nuggets in the second hour of the show. We'll dive into some. There's a trend, a concept that's making a comeback in the NFL. We'll talk about that coming up. We'll also get into some Cowboys discussion. Cowboys are going to be really dependent on these the last two draft classes. And I'll get into why that is the case, that they've had these last two draft classes for them, which they haven't gotten much out of. They're going to need to get a lot out of in the next couple of years. They got to hit, and they're pretty good in the draft, but they got to be really good. And we'll talk about why that is. We'll get into some Cowboys discussion. We'll also talk some Texans on the show. We'll also get into there's a stat that really I got interested in. I went down the rabbit hole once I saw this stat, and I found an intriguing pattern. I found it actually even ties back here to Texas, from all the way from the Texans to the Texas Longhorns. So I went down the rabbit hole and actually ended up on the 40 acres somehow. That happens a lot. So we'll get into that too coming up in Rod's rant of the day. We'll have some football theory. Also got all your usual favorites on the show. We'll talk about the Who Said That. Of course, we got Off the Record. We got the What the Facts, What the Stats. We got the topic for your big fat poll of the day. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. I've been exploring a lot of the different concepts, the conceptual signatures that make the SEC so unique and that make it such a dominant, formidable conference. And I want to talk about some of those trends and how Texas can capitalize on them, and how Texas may be ahead of the curve a little bit on some of those trends that are happening in the SEC. Well, so we're talking about different plays. We're talking about the best play concepts, most successful play concepts, and some of the different patterns that I've already recognized. Just doing some preliminary work, trying to figure out who the next, basically these opponents on Texas schedule, who are going to be the toughest and who are going to present the most problems for the Longhorns. So we'll dive into that when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. But let's not waste any time. Before we do any of that, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure this man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It is our friend, co-host, and neighbor is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing good, brother. Doing good on a Thursday morning as we roll through this week. It's we've been getting through it, and it feels like yes, it felt like it was going slow all week, and now it feels like it went fast for the last couple of days. So we're rolling.
That's what hump day is all about. That's what hump day, man. Get over that hump.
Get over that hump. Rolling right downhill now. I'll tell you about that. Let me introduce my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro as always. And I want to give my man Patrick thoughts about the Team USA's win in the exhibition game over Canada, getting ready. I don't think they're at full strength yet because they're still dealing with KD's got an injury. So yes. KD wasn't available there. So that's some stuff there. But I thought the starting lineup was interesting, and I want to get into that because that's what a lot of people were focused on prior to Team USA's unveiling in the exhibition game against Canada. So we'll get into that too coming up here in this segment. Also, we'll talk about Kawhi Leonard. That was at the end of yesterday's show, withdrawing from Team USA, and we'll get into that too because I know Patrick's probably got an opinion about it as a resident Spurs fan. So we'll talk about that coming up, and like I said, I want to get into the video game ratings because they've been released at least for the top 100 players, so everything's not out yet, but they revealed a lot in those top 100 player rankings. There are two Longhorns that they consider one of the top 100 best players in all of college football. That's at the beginning of the year. Maybe the question is, at the end of the season, how many Longhorns will be on that list? Because if you start looking at it last year, at the beginning of last year, the Longhorns probably wouldn't have had many guys on their list either. Top 100 players in college. Kelvin Banks would have been on the list.
Yeah.
Xavier Worthy would have been on the list.
Yeah.
Right. Top 100 players in college football. Quinn wouldn't have been on the list.
No, probably not.
You wouldn't have. I mean, just looking at it, Jonathan Brooks wouldn't have been on there because he wasn't established yet. By the end of the year, he was.
Yeah.
Honestly, AD Mitchell probably would have made it end of the year, but not beginning of the year.
No, and I don't
maybe
think
JT Sanders,
Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat weren't established yet.
No,
because by the end of the year they would have been. But
they hadn't even made a start their first start came last season.
No, but I mean,
clearly their first starts came last season.
That's like he would have had the guys at the end of the season, but at the beginning,
Jalen Ford would have been on there probably before the season because of the season that he had in 2022.
Yeah, he might have been on there. Yeah,
it's one of the best seasons. So you might have had 3 guys on it prior to last season. Just looking at, I think Jalen Ford makes it. I think Kelvin Banks definitely is on there. There's no question about that. Xavier Worthy, and I'm gonna say JT Sanders might make it too. He was considered like the second best tight end, going like one of the second or third best tight ends potentially in the country, but we'll see. I mean, maybe it's 3, and then at the end of the season, how many is it? Sweat, Murphy,
Banks.
No, the AD, no doubt. I don't know if Quinn makes it at the end. He's really good. I don't know if he'd make it, and we'll see. That may be if Kelvin Banks, of course, makes it. Man, does JT make it at the end of the season? JT Sanders at the end of the season, is he on there? I would say maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe him and maybe Quinn are maybes, but Jonathan Brooks does. He should have won the damn Doak Walker if he didn't get hurt.
That's true.
He wins the Doak Walker, so Jonathan Brooks is on there. So that's 6 guys you're talking about right there at the end of last season who would have been in your top 100 players on the video game. So the video game does update. So my point is,
yes,
hopefully you have more than 2 because last year you would have had about 2 or 3 as well. So
but I don't know if AD would have made it in the fact that I think I saw a thing that they're going to have NFL players be in the college game.
Yeah.
And then I saw some of those rankings, and I think AD Mitchell was one of them, and he was, I think, an 85.
He was an 85.
But I think they had ranked all of them pretty low, all the X players, relatively low for what I thought they would have been. But
I got to go see, because they put out the top 100 and ranked them. I'll go see what the lowest top 100 players ranked.
I believe it's still 90.
It was still in the 90s because the highest ranked player is just 96, which we'll get into, is Will Johnson. In Texas, we'll see who is considered the best, the best player in college football. He is the best cornerback in college football. There's no doubt about that. He'd have been the top corner taken in last year's draft. But the point is, if you're a Longhorn fan, you're like, only 2 players in the top 100. Last year, at the beginning of last year, it probably would have been the case as well.
Yeah.
You probably would have had about two to 3 players last year. But by the end of the year, as we just pointed out, you got 5 to 6 players potentially that have made that list. And I think that same thing can be said if you have success this year. They're going to be guys that have to step up in order for Texas to make it to the SEC title game, to make a run in the college football playoff, and those guys will be considered some of the best players in the country. So, we'll get into it. We'll dive into it. We'll give you the ratings and some of that stuff. We'll also, like I said, get into Team USA beating Canada in their first exhibition game. We'll dive into that a little bit and see what we can gather, what we can gain from it. It was just an exhibition game, but there are probably some tidbits that we can actually gather from it. So we'll discuss that. Before we do any of that, though, let's hit the Horn headlines. Let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA basketball started their warm-up to the Olympics with an exhibition game against Canada last night in Las Vegas, winning 86-72. USA had 4 players scoring double digits, led by Anthony Edwards with 13. Anthony Davis picked up a double-double with 10 points and 11 rebounds. Defense led the way for USA, holding Canada to 33% shooting on the night and picking up 11 steals and 9 blocks. Team USA will look to fix some of their turnover problems and get a quicker start offensively in their second tune-up game against Australia on Monday. In the MLB, the Astros pushed their home win streak to 8 games with a 9-1 win over the Marlins yesterday. A 4-run second inning gave the Astros the lead, and they never looked back, with Yanier Diaz contributing 3 RBIs. Framber Valdez was able to strike out 10 in his 7 innings pitch, getting his 8th win of the season, and Caleb Ort finished off the game Yordan Alvarez got a walk and an RBI single in the game before leaving with right hip tightness. Jake Bloss will get his second career start tonight, returning from the IL after leaving his first start with shoulder discomfort in June. And the Rangers snapped their 5-game win streak with a loss to the Angels 7-2 yesterday. Michael Lorenzen gave up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, starting in the second, where he allowed 3 walks and a hit by pitch in the inning. Leody Taveras got a 2-run homer in the second, but it was not enough, as the Rangers still win the series with the Angels 2-1, and now they get a day off before facing the Astros in a weekend series before the All-Star break. That is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Appreciate those. Let's start with the video game release of the player rankings. They had their top 100 ranked players. They started with the top 10. Will Johnson, as we pointed out, he 96 overall. The cornerback out of Michigan is he and Will Campbell, along with Ollie Gordon, which I don't know if Ollie Gordon should have been 96 overall. He's the best running back in the country from Oklahoma State. We talked about him yesterday because Mike Gundy had the very controversial comments that made headlines, speaking about the punishment of Ollie Gordon after his DWI arrest. Those are the 3 best players on the game. Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan, Will Campbell, left tackle at LSU, and Ollie Gordon, the Oklahoma State running back, 96 overall. I'm glad nobody got 99. I'm glad the 99s remain sacred. If they remain sacred, then I think you can judge everyone accordingly from there. And, I'm sure every now and then there will be a 99. I mean, think about some of the players that could have been 99 in the few years where the game was discontinued. Hell, I mean, Joe Burrow probably is a 99. There are some guys in that. I mean, I don't know if Caleb Williams is 99. He's probably pretty close. You're a Heisman winner, best player in the country. You're probably hovering around there. So he probably would have been in that discussion potentially. So the 99 should be safe. There should be one guy every 3-4 years that can get there. Even if you're the best player in the country, shouldn't mean you're necessarily a 99 overall.
Yes.
It should be like a very exclusive club.
Well, and so you don't want to be 99 to start the season. You want to be 99 to finish the season.
Also true.
There's nowhere to go but down if you started at 99. You gotta
great point.
You gotta get his 95 and then prove yourself, and then they'll be like, oh, by the end of the season, he's undeniable.
Yeah, nope, I agree with that too. No doubt, I like that too. And the Tennessee defensive end, along with James Pierce Jr., along with Caleb Downs, the safety of Ohio State, Travis Hunter, and 95 overall to the cornerback / wide receiver out of Colorado, Malachi Starks, Mason Graham. Malachi Starks is the safety out of Georgia. Mason Graham is the D tackle for Michigan. Texas will see both of those players. Quinton Judkins of Ohio State, the running back, and Tate Retledge, who is the guard out of Georgia. Texas will see him too. Those are all 5 overall. The 2 players from Texas who got love, of course, you got Kelvin Banks, who was the 13th player overall, and you have Quinn Ewers, who was the 27th ranked player overall on the game. Kelvin Banks was a 94 overall. Quinn Ewers, of course, we talked about him. He was at 92. The breakdown of Kelvin Banks: speed 67, his I think acceleration is 72, strength 92, awareness 96, and I want to say maybe this is jumping ability, that's a 71. So there you go. 2 Longhorns, but like I said, the beginning of the season not as important as being the update that comes during the season. I think by the end of the season, Texas has 4 guys in the top 100, 4 to 5. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, because I think they'll have a defensive player that will step up, and we just don't know. Like, you could believe Anthony Hill could get into that world this season. Jahdae Barron could get in that world this season.
Yeah.
So
there's those edge guys, a couple of those edge guys.
Yeah, could get in there world.
1 or 2.
So there's definitely guys who could get into that. And I mean, we didn't know. I mean, if the defensive tackles step it up again, again, we said that neither Byron Murphy or Tavondre Sutton would have been on that list to start off last year, and both of them would have been on it to end it. So, maybe you'll see that progress again. But yeah, I think, and I can believe we'll have a wide receiver in there too. I just don't know which wide receiver it's going to be yet.
Yeah. And I will say that Texas must be pretty good overall. They probably got Texas players rated pretty high
Yeah.
Because if you only have 2 players in the top 100 and yet you're still rated overall as one of the top 5 to 6 teams on the game, which Texas is, then that means they probably have a lot of your guys rated relatively high. I mean, you got talented depth. Like I said, haven't seen it, but that's just my guess. The quarterback rankings, Carson Beck is a 93 overall, tied with Shedeur Sanders, and then Dylan Gabriel and Quinn Ewers are tied with 92. So essentially, Quinn Ewers tied for the second highest quarterback rating overall with a 92. Kelvin Banks is the second highest rated tackle because the LSU tackle Campbell is the second highest rated player on the game. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does show you that. I mean, Texas, you're going to play against a lot of good players, even looking at these ratings. I mean, Georgia stacked on this thing, and so is Michigan. Michigan's got a lot of players on here. Michigan's got as many players on defense, or more players on defense rated in the top 100 as Texas has overall. So that defense is loaded, man. It's going to be a really good defense, and that Texas plays early on the road. The argument could be made it might be a tougher challenge than the Georgia defense just because it'll be on the road. And it'll be a defensive coordinator who's an NFL guy who's been working with a lot of NFL players on that defense. All right, that is so the EA Sports College Football Video Game Rankings. They're leaking out a little bit more information every day, so I assume there'll be some other ratings that come out. Maybe I want to find out who the highest rated defensive player is for Texas.
Yeah,
that is something that's still intriguing.
I don't know if we'll see that before. I mean, the game is coming out in a week, right?
Something like the game's coming out like next week. Yeah, I think it's like a week. Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure of the date, but it'll be around the time I think SEC Media Days are out. I won't say right after SEC Media Days are over if the game comes out.
Okay, so I believe
that's the case.
Get all our answers then.
Yeah, you'll get I would say something with Travis Hunter is the highest rated wide receiver on the game at 95.
But is that because he's a cornerback too?
Yeah, but I want to know where he's rated as a cornerback, but he's the highest. They got him as a 95 with the wide receiver, like listed. Travis Hunter, 95 overall. And Luther Burden from Missouri is 94. The Arizona receiver, McMillan, 94. Emeka Ekwuga, the receiver from Ohio State, 93. And Torrey Horton, that Colorado State, Texas. We'll see him, by the way. Really good receiver. We talked about him, 91 overall. That Colorado State wide receiver. So they're basically saying he's the best wide receiver. He has a case that he could be the best wide receiver in this draft. To be the best wide receiver in a draft class and what the second or third best cornerback, that would be epic and unprecedented. That is worth the value.
But we also know they're ranking Colorado really high for some reasons. So
they are, but Travis Hunter's the real deal, though.
I agree. Right. But he's not the best wide receiver. He's up there in cornerback. I think he's a better cornerback than he is wide receiver.
I agree with that, but he's a pretty damn good wide receiver too, though. I mean, I think
there's specialists at wide receiver that are going to be a little bit better than him.
He's basically considered like he's a new age Charles Woodson, but he's a better wide receiver than Charles Woodson was.
Yeah,
he's a better two-way player than Charles Woodson was. The argument could be made that we haven't seen a two-way player as good as Travis Hunter in the modern era of college football. So I don't know, 70 years or so. I mean, give me a two-way player that's been better than him. There ain't many.
No, I can't think of one.
There ain't many guys that do it. Champ Bailey did a little bit of it that I remember. It's a lot of time it is DBs. I will say that. Champ Bailey did some of it back in the day. There was some. Oh man, yeah, Charles Woodson. It's not a long list.
No,
and he's done it as well as anybody I've seen. Actually, on the offensive side, defensively, yeah, Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey better, and yeah, Will Johnson the better cornerback. But he might be the second best cornerback in the country, second or third. He's easily in the top 5.
Yeah.
And the question is he a top 5 wide? He's a top 5. They're saying basically he's a top 5 wide receiver and top 5 cornerback, and I can go along with that. You can make that argument that he's that talented.
Yeah,
if he's that talented, then he's going to potentially be a top 15 pick in the draft. Top 15.
It will be, but I wonder how many NFL teams want to play a guy both ways, and that's
they don't.
That's why I say you're going to pick him which way you want to go, but still, that's. you probably are going to pick him at DB because it costs a lot
Yes.
less and there's way more wide receivers. And then he'd probably want to play wide receiver because you make way more money.
Way more money.
So
Way more money.
that'll be a fun conversation when we get to draft time.
Yeah, and cornerback's just tougher. It's tough. It's just a tougher job. It's just a harder job. It's like you want to make more. What do we say? What's the new American dream? I want to work less and make more money.
Yes.
All right. How can I do that? How can I make more money but work less to do it? That's wide receiver compared to cornerback. Cornerback, you can make good money, but that is a hard job to make that money. You're working hard for it. Yeah. Wide receiver, I'm not saying it ain't a hard job. It ain't as hard as cornerback though, and you're making way more money than the cornerbacks now. For that job, no. If you got a choice, you want to go play wide receiver. That is the new American dream. more money for less work. How can I do that? All right, let's get to Team USA. Let's talk about the Team USA win over the Canadian team yesterday. It's 86-72. Patrick, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it because I know you got all types of ways to watch all types of basketball, summer league, and all.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It was on FS1. It was not
okay.
hidden away.
So there you go. All right, there you go. So you checked it out. All right. So what were your thoughts? Because the starting lineup ended up being Steph, LeBron, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, who fouled out of the game, by the way, which is weird, and Drew Holiday. And it was my understanding that Drew Holiday was starting, and because some people were saying that, oh man, Drew Holiday, that was a little bit of a surprise. Was he starting just because Canada's backcourt was so impressive? That's the strength of their team because you got Jamal Murray and you got Shea SGA. Is that why he started, or was it because of some other reason?
Yeah, I mean, I think matchup wise, they didn't. If Zach Edey played, you maybe play that game a little differently for Canada because they would have the inside threat, but they didn't have any inside threat, so you weren't worried about that as much. So you wanted to play, a smaller lineup to match up with what they were putting out on the court, and Drew Holiday could go out there and play really good defense. And I think too, it's there is only one basketball on the court, so if you have a defensive guy, there sometimes makes sense to maybe put him in and say you can be the fifth option on the offensive end. We don't necessarily need you to score because we have some of the most prolific scorers in NBA history on the court right now. So why don't we don't need to put another great scorer on the court right now. So it makes sense to put him in. He did end up with double figures in points too. So he was handling on both ends of the court. I think they're trying some different things out. I think there maybe be a little bit of it too of, we talk about Kawhi Leonard not being on the team anymore, and Grant Hill came out and said that was a team decision, not necessarily a Kawhi decision, trying to take some of the pressure off of Kawhi. Well, I think they're trying to take pressure off of Kawhi and saying that he didn't walk away.
Because of the injury? They said it's because of an injury?
So they said it's because of basically how they were not sure that he was going to be able to play as much. So they said, if you're not going to be able to be for sure there, then we'd rather put somebody else on the team. And I think they're, I don't know if he's the most fun guy to have on the team. It didn't look like he was having a good time there. So
that picture, all of his pictures are like that. There is a picture that's making the rounds that he looks miserable.
And so there might have been, I think there was just extenuating circumstances where they said, we wanted you for your defense, but you don't seem like you want to come in here and play shutdown defense. That's not what it seems like you want to do. So that's fine. Why don't you go off and get ready? Because you clearly are going to be, you're worried about your injuries and everything else. We'll move on. That's fine. And so that's where they work there. But I think you see that with this Team USA, that they understand you're going to need defense. You're going to need to put in lineups that, extenuate each other and help out each other rather than putting out lineups where everyone is just going to be trying to get their buckets. And you saw that with the bench. Anthony Edwards comes in off the bench and he just wanted to attack. And he wanted to be, and it helped because Team USA was not scoring before he came in the game. They were having a lot of trouble scoring early, just missing a lot of shots. Were a little tight coming out of that, scrimmage. But he came out, played pretty well. And once he opened up the floodgates, everything seemed to start going. Everyone felt a little bit better about it. So you want to have those guys that are energy guys that are going to come in and score in bunches, come off the bench. But you need some defense up front. So it wouldn't surprise me if Holiday started more. But I think you could see a two big guy lineup If you're playing a team like France, you could see Bam Adebayo get in the starting lineup. And, maybe put Bam in there or put Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid starting and, play two bigs to try and equal out against the bigger lineup as well. You have USA.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, to be matchup based.
Yeah.
I mean, you face it. They got great. I mean, you're going to face. I believe they got to go to. They got to go to the UAE, right?
Yeah,
Next.
Abu Dhabi is their next couple
Yeah,
games.
and then they have to face Serbia over there in the exhibition, and they're going to face Jokic. And it only makes sense that, based on the strength of the other team, because you had so many versatile pieces, that, you can be matchup based, at least a little bit, be somewhat malleable. Derek White is the rumored or at least reported replacement for Kawhi Leonard. What are your thoughts about Derek White's? I mean, that's basically what they want, right? You have somebody that's not going to demand the ball, isn't a ball centric guy. I can play D. Hey, if you need me, I can shoot a three.
Yeah, I think that was the deal. Is they just wanted to bring somebody in who was going to be okay. There's already two Celtics players on the team.
Yeah.
So I think they just said, bring this guy in, and we feel okay with it that he can come in.
Is there a Jaylen Brown controversy?
Not really. I think there's two, and this is like Kyrie Irving would be another guy you could have brought in there.
Yeah.
But I think those guys, their offseason, they're probably enjoying their offseason because they knew they weren't going to be on Team USA. So it's a little bit harder for those guys to ramp it back up. As opposed to a Derek White who may be a little bit more excited and eager to go hop on there than guys who you're literally calling days before going to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Like that's
right about that.
That's a big, you're going to go be away from your family for a month.
Yeah. Wifey didn't plan on that one.
You made your entire offseason plans. You're working out. You've got everything set. And then, hey, here's a month-long commitment. Get on a plane. You're gone for a month.
No, you're right about that.
So I think that's more of what the occasion was, why it wasn't a bigger name. And it may be Jaylen Brown and Kyrie Irving too. Like, you could have called me.
Yeah, and maybe they did call some of those guys. Those guys, like you said, like, "Hey, man, I got stuff going on. I got plans already." Could have been that too. But yeah, no, I think it makes sense from what you said that there's only one basketball, and now. Scoring's not going to be your issue. You're not going to worry about guys who can close out games. You got all that. It's more about the chemistry and the different lineups that you can use. They're most effective. They give you the most, right?
Yeah, and KD coming back will be big because KD is one of those guys that everybody wants to play. Like, he's just a baller, so people like playing with him. So he'll be another guy you can put in that's also 7 foot. I know he lists himself like 6'10", 6'11". He's 7 foot. So he's another big guy that can rim protect a little for you. And especially in that FIBA rules where you can touch the ball on the rim. He's another guy that can get up there and maybe swat some balls out or tip some balls in, depending on where you're, what side of the court you're on. But I think he'll be, you talk about somebody who you're only talking about playing 15 to 20 minutes a game, but he will make a big difference as well of just being able to have that court vision and that ability with a big man. Where Joel Embiid looked a little lost at points, which I get. I mean, he played his best player he's played with last year was Tyrese Maxey. He played with James Harden too. Those are not Team USA players, so he has not necessarily played with this level of talent in a while. So I think there was a little bit of him just not really feeling to fit in. He'll get better as the Olympics go on. He'll get better and better. He's a really good player, so they'll get him. And if he doesn't, Anthony Davis will play more minutes. I mean, that's kind of the switch off as Anthony Davis is there. He had a good game as well. So Embiid just didn't play well. He got in his own head. I think he'll get better as it goes on. He's a good player. But yeah, I think the KD coming back, they're trying to make sure that he's okay throughout the Olympics. That's why he sat out this game. It wouldn't surprise me if he sat out another one. But yeah, when he comes back, it'll be a big difference.
Yeah. All right, good stuff there. Good breakdown. All right, we'll come back. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain on the other side. I've been studying some of the trends in the SEC, so we'll talk about some of those trends and if the Longhorns are going to be able to capitalize on some of those trends and actually set some of those trends themselves potentially in the SEC. We'll get into that. We'll also coming up a little bit later on. We'll get into some NFL news notes and nuggets. Actually, there's some football theory I want to discuss. There's a trend now in the NFL NFL, something, a new concept making a comeback, I should say, in the NFL. What's old is new again, that kind of thing. And I went down the rabbit hole and actually found a connection to the University of Texas and to Sark. So we'll do that coming up in the next hour. When we come back, we'll go behind the burn orange curtain, talk some Texas football right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. Let's talk about my friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Now, I know there's a lot of traffic out there. Actually, you may be in traffic right now, driving by one of the iconic landmarks that were built and constructed by Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge or DKR Stadium. Right now, the folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 are hiring over 3,000 people for another big project they're constructing right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now, it's a perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 42 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. So if you're interested in an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you just want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization. And right now is a great time to do it. So become a member of Ironworkers Local 42 and take pride in a type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online today at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation. I told you guys yesterday that I've been doing some studying of the SEC ecosystem, trying to figure out exactly, what style of football, Texas is going to be seeing, what problems the culture of the conference, what problems that the Really, the style, the different philosophies in the conference are going to present to Texas, much like we used to do week after week in the Big 12. And because we, were really familiar and knowledgeable about those teams and the coaches and the identities of those programs, it was, I think, almost second nature. Kind of dive back in year out, and talk about those teams and examine and analyze how the matchup between them and Texas. It's going to be a little bit different this year because brand new conference, brand new ecosystem, going to face a whole new slate of teams. So I've been doing my research and I've been looking at some of these signatures, right? And I track these things for Texas too. But going back into the SEC and doing some research with some of the data scientists that cover the SEC and looking at some of their research, I've been comparing trends, right? Comparing some of these signatures, some of the most successful plays and concepts in the SEC, some of the most popular, cheat codes and hacks in the SEC, and comparing those to Texas and Texas time in the Big 12, and which one of these and which of these patterns and trends and which of these plays is already part of Texas's staple philosophy, which is already part of their ideology and their identity as a team. So I've been going down the rabbit hole. So let's start with pre-snap motion, right? The rate of pre-snap motion in the SEC overall is right 34% right now, which is much lower than Texas, whose Sark is always between 51 and 55% pre-snap motion. So that's something Texas is way ahead of the curve on. And I've made the argument that hell, Sark should have even more pre-snap motion. Like it should be something that he should be in the 60 or 70% range of pre-snap motion. And I've made the argument, you guys have heard it. It's something that in the NFL, I believe Mike McDaniel, the coach of the Miami Dolphins, they're around 82%, if I'm not mistaken, in their pre-snap motion rate. The 49ers are around 70%. The Actually, just 75%, I think. And the Rams are around 70%. Green Bay is around 64%. My point is the best offenses in the NFL, Kansas City, 64%, Detroit Lions, 61%. They're in the 60s. Sark is hovering around 50, which is probably the NFL average, maybe a little higher than the college average, higher than the SEC, of course. But I think you could stand to ratchet it up about 10 to 15 percentage points. And I think it would do a lot for, really the effectiveness and really the explosivity overall of the offense. I've been tracking it forever. Yards per attempt when you're targeting a player that was in motion prior to the snap, at the time of the snap. You're talking about 8.4 yards per attempt in 2021, 10 yards per attempt in 2022, over 10 yards per attempt in 2023. Like it works. Like your explosive play rate, you're around in 2022, you're upwards of 30%. In 2023, you're above 23% explosive play rate. First down rate in 2021, you're above 30%. I mean, it's really effective. He should do it more, but in terms of the SEC, in relation to the SEC, he's already ahead of the game. Let's look at explosive plays. The explosive play rate of the SEC is around 14%. Texas is close to 17% overall, about 16.8%. The thing with explosive plays, I think Texas, in my analysis, examining Sark's offensive identity, some of the highest explosive play rates are from his exotic concepts. Exotic for him. I mean, you take the pony package, as I talk about all the time, right? Texas explosive play rate overall is, like I said, 16.8% from last year. But in your pony packages, it is 23%, and 23% and 23% the last 2 years, right? And you go look at it you go look at it out of empty formation. Your empty formation explosive play rate, 23%, 22%, 25% the last 3 years. I think, and I bet if I pulled up the 6-0 line package explosive play rate, it would probably be above that, that 16.8% too, whatever your in Texas's average is. And like I said, even when you target pre-snap motion, right? You targets to motion, your explosive play rate is really high, and it has been high for the last 3 years. So I think when you talk about exotics, 23%, like I said, and you're at 30% 1 year in targets to motion. The more exotic, the more creative and more innovative Sark gets with some of his personnel groupings and some of his even formations and some of his really overall concepts, I think it ends up paying huge dividends in the explosive play rate. Sometimes even your, like I say, out of empty, actually, Texas completion percentage out of empty is probably below 60%. But the explosive play rates, they skyrocket. Yeah, your completion percentage last year below 60%. Your completion percentage in 2022 around 60% for Quinn out of empty. It's not great, but the explosive play rates are unbelievable. And that's the return. So I think Texas can be even more explosive than they were last year, but you will be in the SEC, so you'll play some better defenses. So that also must be considered, which is why he should use more of the exotics that I keep talking about, because in the SEC, you're going to need them. You're playing against better defenses, you're playing against better players. The deep pass rate in the SEC is around 13, a little under 14%, and Sark's around 14%. I think Sark wants to throw it deep more. He's just, I think, has been concerned about Quinn's effectiveness throwing the deep ball. And as we've talked about, Quinn's getting much better throwing the deep ball. Last 7 starts, throwing the deep ball, 20 plus yards or more. 43% completion percentage. Prior to that, it was at 24%. Off target rate, only 25% off target rate. Prior to that, it was 44%. His QBR in the last 7 starts, throwing 20 plus yard passes, 92. Prior to that, it was 23. So I think you're going to see him throw it deep more because Sark wants to. It's something I think that it's a part of his overall philosophy that he has dialed back, because he has recognized that it's not a natural strength for Quinn. So he's dialed it back. Remember when Sark first got here, it was actually a concern. We talked about him being addicted to the deep ball, like having to throw the deep ball. Remember that Oklahoma State game? They kept chunking it deep. Bad win, broke hand quarterback, broke hand wide receiver. Oh, I'm going to complete this deep ball. And even after that, he kept saying it's a big part of our offense and we're going to throw it. And even this season, we saw him dial it back, more calculated risk, being more judicious throwing the deep ball, not just chunked it on first down and then ended up with second and long and potentially third and long. But he wants to throw it more, and I think with this receiving core, you could see that be a strength. So Texas right around the average there, but I think they'll kick it up and want to be above that next season, especially with a veteran quarterback. Uh, Early pass rate in the SEC, early down pass rate, first and second down, is around 45% early down pass rate. So they want to run the ball mostly on early downs. I will say this, though. I mean, CJ Vogel had this stat. It's a great stat that Sark on his opening drive. So just take the opening drive of every game last season. The pass rate on just the opening drive last season was above 75%. Isn't that crazy? Like the pass rate. So when Sark's in his bag, when he's getting really, really creative, a big part of it's going to be the passing game. And now you got a veteran quarterback in Quinn Ewers. So Texas early down pass rate, I haven't tracked it. I'll probably track that this offseason at some point. Texas early down pass rate will probably increase. That would be my guess. That it'll increase because you got a veteran quarterback, and his opening drives, like I said, when Sark's getting really creative in his opening drives, he obviously based on that number, he wants to throw it. Now it's not always high percentage or always low percentage throws. I mean, these aren't deep vertical shots downfield. These are screens. These are RPOs a lot of the time as well. Play action passes, schemed open, design, kind of wide open first read concepts for Quinn Ewers. So it's not very complicated, but it just shows you that early down pass rate is something that also for Texas could increase. Um, Also, something here that says that empty formation usage kind of flatlined. I think Texas should use more of empty. I've talked about this over and over again. Texas actually is pretty damn good out of empty formation, and in the SEC, they're not used to it. They said the empty rate has pretty much flatlined in the SEC for the last 3 or 4 years. I think Sark should make it like a big chunk of his offense. Not, I mean, right now it's probably 5% or less of his offense. I think it should be, he should double the amount that he uses it, double the rate of it. It's just, Quinn last season, last 3 games of the season versus Washington, Oklahoma State, and Tech. So, yeah, starting at Tech, he was over 75% completion percentage. Um, Over 12 yards per attempt, 33% explosive play rate, and over 50% first down rate in those games out of empty formation. He wasn't great all year long. Sometimes he struggles with pass protection out of empty, but I'm telling you, with the SEC, it being such a flat line concept in the SEC, with Sark and all the speed that he has, with now Amari Niblack there, and with Bowden and Golden and Isaiah Bond and Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo, man, you can line up in some freaky packages. Spread Jaden Blue in the backfield, spread teams out, find a mismatch, and with a veteran quarterback, if he picked up where he left off last year, man, you could see Quinn Ewers really dial it up out of empty. And it's just timing based. Everything speeds up. Sack rates go down usually, not for Quinn, but usually when I track it, sack rates go down out of empty formation. And I think Quinn had 2 sacks, I believe, those last 3 games. Yeah, 2 sacks in empty formation. I think that's something you can improve on, especially with the kind of talent you have. So that's something I think Sark could be ahead of the game on going into the SEC. Also, counters increased in the SEC, 215% increase in the usage of counters in the SEC. That's one of Sark's favorite concepts. If you go look at the counter tray, it's among probably the top 5 most popular run concepts for Texas. And it's something that's increasing in the SEC too. It's something Sark's probably going to use a lot more of as well. 10 personnel usage, which is 1 back, 0 tight ends in the SEC. It was at its lowest rate, 3.7% since 2019. A lot of that's because Mike Leach passed away, and Mike Leach would use a lot of it in his air raid offense there with Mississippi State. Now I think, I think Sark should use it. Now, Sark, when he was at Alabama, he did use some 10 personnel with 4 wide receivers on the field because he had 4 first-round wide receivers. Why not put them on the field together? He can do that at Texas. He doesn't have 4 first-round wide receivers, but you do have an embarrassment of riches there with Bowden and Golden and Bond and Cook and Wingo and DeAndre Moore. I wouldn't be surprised, since that's also something that's really low in the SEC. They don't see a lot of it. It will be very exotic to them, and they probably would have a hard time adjusting to it, especially with a veteran quarterback to operate it and engineer it. So that's something also to consider. I think Sark's going to break it out this year. Every year he breaks out a new wrinkle. We got the Big 12 package the last couple of years. The pony package when he first got here was something he broke out. There's always something that he's adding to his repertoire. I would guess that 10 personnel package, he's got it. He just hadn't used it at Texas very much, if any. This might be the year to do it because he hadn't been this deep at wide receiver since he's been here. All right, that's a few trends. I got some more. We'll get into more of those. We go behind the burn curtain later on in the show. But let's come back. We'll learn the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, and we'll also learn our musically themed day of the week. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Thursday morning, and that means it's a new theme Thursday, where I pick a different theme every Thursday and play songs that fit into that mold. And since today is July 11th, it is 7-Eleven, and all the songs I'm playing today make some reference to 7-Eleven.
Okay, I like
Which
that.
I was surprised there was as many songs that do. A lot of them not very good, not a ton of great, but there's some good ones that we found to play today. But yeah, there's more songs you would think that reference 7-Eleven.
Are they referencing the store 7-Eleven or
Yes,
just
the store.
Wow. Okay.
It's been, I mean, it's been in the pop culture lexicon and long enough now that there's plenty of people that are basically, when you're saying I'm going to the corner store, I'm going to the gas station or anything like that, a lot of times to make it rhyme, they say 7-Eleven.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I live by 7-Eleven, so I live by actually I think I live by two of them
I
that
think
are
we
pretty
do.
close to me. Yeah. So no, you're right about that. It's been around for a long time. No, I'm a fan of 7-Eleven. I've dropped by 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I believe. I think today is
recently.
I think today is free Slurpee Day. I think because it's actually 7-Eleven
Oh,
as the date. I think that is right, but I haven't.
let me go.
Can't
I'm gonna go
verify.
check that out for you. I'm gonna
But
check it out right now.
check it out because I think that is. I think it is. I think that's what I saw that it was.
If it's not, then that's a crime. It's a horrible thing. 7-Eleven. Yeah, I think you're right. Yep, free Slurpee Day.
There you go.
Get a free drink from 7-Eleven on July 11th. There you go. Good job.
There you go. All right, let's get to the big fat poll today. Text line's open 512-447-3776.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
All right, so with the rankings coming out for ESPN Big 12 Media Day, or not ESPN, sorry, EA Sports 25, and then and the Big 12 Media Days wrapping up, I thought we would ask a question today because we'll move off of Big 12 now. I know people are like, why are you talking about our X? So, because it's Big 12 Media Days, and we want to talk college football, and they were the ones doing something. Next week, we get into SEC Media Days, and so it'll be a lot more fun for all of us. But I wanted to get into who will be the best QB in the Big 12. We know Shedeur Sanders got the best ranking. I don't know if that is earned yet, but we will see if he can keep that best rating. So will Shedeur Sanders be the best quarterback in the Big 12? Is it Cameron Rising? Can he stay healthy and be the best quarterback in the Big 12? Jalen Daniels, he has not been able to stay on the field, but he has also shown that he can be electric. Avery Johnson at Kansas State is a big one. Noah Fafita, the kid from Arizona. He threw this is what I was reading about him, was looking this up yesterday, 72.4% completion percentage in the second half. He basically got himself a starting job and kept it in the second half of the season. So he is somebody that people are looking at to say maybe he could have a breakout season at Arizona. But that is the question. Who will be the best quarterback in the Big 12 this season?
Yeah, that's a good one because if Jalen Daniels stays healthy in that offense, he's dynamic. And when he was healthy to start, was that last year? He was a Heisman contender.
Yeah.
And so that offense, I love that offense with Lance Leipold. And Avery Johnson, I'm hearing great things about Avery Johnson and his upside too. And he was one of the highest rated recruits that Kansas State's ever got that in the history of the program. Like they don't get players of his ilk usually. And then Shedeur Sanders, who I think right now is going to be my pick. Cam Rising also is the guy's going to play on Sundays. I think Shedeur Sanders will be my pick right now as he's got better weapons, I think, potentially than all the rest of those guys too.
He does. He has some good weapons. But the question is, can his offensive line protect him at all?
He's got six new offensive linemen they got via the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Brand new ones. Some of the highest rated in the country. So we'll see.
We'll see if they can protect him. That was what Deion said, that they've got to protect the quarterback better to win. There were times last season where you would watch him and he would basically get 1 to 2 reads done and then be on a run and having to throw the ball away or run out of bounds or do whatever he had to do because he was there. And so he's shown that he can play well, but he hasn't been able to have that big playability yet. His big playability hasn't been there as much as he's had to go down, but that's partially because of the offensive line that you're trying to get the ball out quickly. So we'll see what he's able to do. But I think it's a question just because I know there's some people that are very high on Shador Sanders, and there's others that have not seen that ability fully yet. And some of these other guys have shown at probably a higher level. Jalen Daniels, I think, has been better than him at times, just hasn't stayed on the field.
Yeah, you just can't stay healthy. I mean, Cam Rising got the same issue. And we saw that with Michael Penix until he did stay healthy, and then he had an all-time great season and made his way to New York as a Heisman finalist. So we'll see if Cam Rising can stay healthy or Jalen Daniels. They make that. They really could, just even statistically, and aside from the draft, and we're not talking about the upside, just in performance, in obviously in the Big 12, both of those guys could eclipse what Shadur Sanders could do. Yeah. Just statistically, because they're quarterbacks that do have like the quarterback design runs as well within their system. So they could light it up statistically. Shadur Sanders running, people, he can run, but that's not really something he majors in. He'd rather be a pocket passing quarterback, extend the play so that he can throw it downfield. Hey, actually on the game, I think they're joking, but it's actually true. Quinn Ewers has a better overall speed score than Shadur Sanders on the video game.
Yeah.
I want to say Quinn is 81 and Shadur Sanders is 80.
No, Shador did some of that David Carr run out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage stuff. He ran a lot of
oh man.
He ran a lot of horizontal.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
he ran a lot of that way.
That. Yeah,
tries to keep the play going, but then once the guy's chasing you and your eyes are not downfield anymore, you're not keeping the play going.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. They basically blame the offensive line and the offensive coordinator. They got a new coordinator because of that too. Basically, DM's like, hey man, you put my son in danger out there. So I want new O lineman and I want a new coordinator. That's a good question. I don't know who's going to be, but that may determine who's going to end up winning the Big 12 though. Yes. Whoever ends up being the better quarterback there. All right, good stuff there for the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. We'll come back. We'll get into some NFL discussion on the show. I did some research, so we'll have that for Rod's rant of the day. And also, we have NFL odds. The odds who's going to be the leading rusher, the leading passer in the NFL, who's got the best odds to throw the most touchdowns, who's got the best odds to be the leading receiver. We'll get into that and give you our thoughts on what Vegas is saying, who has the best odds to lead the NFL in all those statistical categories. And of course, we'll have Rod's rant of the day. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday on the Rodcast. My man Patrick comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. And of course, on a new theme Thursday, he comes up with a creative new theme. And today, because it is 7-Eleven, he basically came up with a theme that all the songs have to, in some way, form, or fashion, reference 7-Eleven.
Yes.
Right?
In the lyrics of all these songs, they talk
some
about
way
7-Eleven.
As long as they reference 7-Eleven. And I got to say, when's the 7-Eleven reference in here?
It's the next verse.
It's the next verse.
It's
there
the
you go.
next verse.
See, man, you got to be. That's a lot of detail you putting into that, brother. To examine all the lyrics. I guess.
I mean, there's some people out there that have collected some of this stuff already. Okay. They need to find ones that worked and
just build on it a little bit.
Wait. Let's research. See. I think we go. Here we go. See? It's that
easy. Well done, brother. Well done. Appreciate my man Patrick hooking us up on a new theme Thursday edition of the show. He also comes up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. This one is college football related. Got Big 12 media days, though I believe are done.
They're done now,
right?
yes.
They're done in Vegas. But it is a Big 12 related topic for the Big Fat Poll today.
Yes, Big Fat Poll today. Who will be the best quarterback in the Big 12? I just posted that up on X as well at the Horn ATX. But yeah, nice. Shedeur Sanders, Cam Rising, Jalen Daniels, Avery Johnson, your choices there on X.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I mean, you'd assume that Shedeur Sanders, but that's just the hype. Doesn't mean he's going to have, and even if you do have the most NFL upside, doesn't mean you're going to have the best season.
Yes.
Next season for your team. And I know a lot of people are high on Avery Johnson. I was really high on Jalen Daniels before he got hurt. And that system that he runs there in Kansas is one of the most creative. I think it's one of the more lethal offensive systems in the country. And he's perfectly compatible with it there with Lance Leipold. And then there's Cam Rising, who's 7 years or something like that?
I mean,
Cam Rising?
Yeah, I mean, he was a Herman recruit, right?
Yeah. 7-8 years. I mean, I got to go back and look, but he's been there a long time. So, but that's what worked out last year. I mean, Michael Penix was kind of the Michael Penix story. Transfer, dealt with a lot of injuries, but finally had a season where he stayed healthy, or a couple of seasons where he stayed healthy, and then obviously the rest is history. So we'll see. I like that question though. So we'll get you that on the X account. Go to Horn ATX. It'll be posted up there for you, and you can vote there, or you can go have that discussion on the text line 512-447-3776. All right, we'll get your Horn headlines, and then we'll get into some NFL odds. It's NFL odds of the best, or at least who's going to lead the NFL in receiving, in passing yards, in passing touchdowns, in rushing yards. We'll give you our thoughts and give you those NFL odds, and also we'll dive into some NFL discussion. I went down the rabbit hole. I found a stat that talking about the Texans offense actually, and I went researching the Texans offense and went down the rabbit hole and found myself on the 40 acres researching Sark's time in the NFL. So we'll get into that. I'll give you that connection when we get to Rod's rant of the day. So some NFL discussion we'll dive into, but first, let's get updated, let's get educated, let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA basketball started their warm-up to the Olympics with an exhibition game against Canada last night in Las Vegas, winning 86-72. USA had 4 players scoring double digits, led by Anthony Edwards with 13, and Anthony Davis picked up a double-double with 10 points and 11 rebounds. Defense led the way for USA, holding Canada to 33% shooting on the night and picking up 11 steals and 9 blocks. Team USA will look to fix some of their turnover problems and get a quicker start offensively in their second tune-up game against Australia on Monday. In the MLB, the Astros pushed their home win streak to 8 games with a 9-1 win over the Marlins yesterday. A 4-run second inning gave the Astros a lead, and they never looked back, with Yanier Diaz contributing 3 RBIs. Framber Valdez was able to strike out 10 in his 7 innings pitch, getting his 8th win of the season, and Caleb Ort finished out the game. Yordan Alvarez got a walk and an RBI single in the game before leaving with right hip tightness. Jake Bloss will get his second career start tonight, returning from the IL after leaving his first start with shoulder discomfort in June. And the Rangers snapped their 5-game win streak with a loss to the Angels 7-2 yesterday. Michael Lorenzen gave up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, starting in the second where he allowed 3 walks and a hit by pitch in the inning. Leody Taveras got a 2-run homer in the 5th, but it wasn't enough, however. The Rangers still win the series versus the Angels 2-1 and now get the day off before facing the Astros in a weekend series before the All-Star break. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Appreciate those. All right, let's get to these NFL odds. This is from BetMGM, and they have the odds for some of these statistical leaders, or projected statistical leaders for the upcoming season. So BetMGM, best odds to lead the NFL in receiving yards. They got Tyreek Hill at plus 500. Best odds to lead the NFL in receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb's at plus 600. Justin Jefferson at plus 700. These are all your $30 million plus receivers, or soon will be when CeeDee Lamb joins that group. Jamar Chase is at plus 800. Then there's AJ Brown at plus 900. Then you get to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a plus 1,000. Puka Nacua getting some love. He and Garrett Wilson are at plus 1,500. And then there's Drake London at plus 1,800. But 28% of the money right now, that's the most. The most of the money is on Drake London at plus 1,800. Because that Kirk Cousins connection, right? They figure new offensive system. Was it Zach Robinson there now with him? Is it Zach Robinson?
Yes, right.
I believe you're correct about that. So new offensive system, a McVay, a Shanahan McVay system, and you got a lot of weapons on that. I mean, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Bijan Robinson. So Drake London right now really popular. If you had to make a bet, which one is the one you put the money on? Who's your best bet to win, or at least not to win, to lead the NFL in receiving yards?
I mean,
hell, you can go outside that group if you want to. I think CD's got a good chance to do it.
I think he does.
Tyreek Hill's got to split some with Jalen Waddle now.
Yeah,
Jalen Waddle's making big money. He's gonna split a little bit with Jalen Waddle. That's just the nature of it. And Tyreek Hill gets a lot of attention, but man, my Miami Dolphins have done an amazing job of being able to scheme him open. Justin Jefferson, the quarterback, concerns me.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, right. A rookie quarterback. I'm a little concerned about the rookie quarterback. I mean, they're going to force feed him the football, of course, highest paid receiver in the league. But I'm worried about the quarterback there. Jamar Chase is that's a good one, but there are other weapons there as well. You got T. Higgins there. You got Boyd there as well. I mean, they got some weapons that you also got to divide up that target share. AJ Brown also has a true number 2 receiver. Like, he's got Devontae Smith there with him, who's also making big money. I don't see Lamb. Cowboys don't have a running game. We talk about that all the time. Running game is going to be terrible. We can predict that right now. Like, not terrible, but it's going to be below average. All right, it's going to be a below average running game, right? Don't we all agree with that? So they're going to throw the football a lot. Is Brandon Cooks a true number 2 receiver? Maybe we'll see. But they don't have a number 3 receiver. Jake Ferguson is probably that at tight end, and I think CeeDee Lamb's gonna get a lot of targets, a ton. They're gonna scheme him open a ton, and they did that really well last year. I don't know. My bet might be CD.
It might be CD. I like Garrett Wilson if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy.
But
if he stays healthy, it's not like, I mean, Breece Hall's a good running back, but I don't know if he's a bell cow. So I don't know if they've got, I think that you're going to throw the ball. You're going to base it around Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And that's your guy there.
That is your guy. That's your guy. Yeah, you're right about that. That is your guy. I'm sure Amon-Ra St. Brown be getting some more love here.
He should, but I think they have so many weapons. I think they have more weapons there.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, the tight ends there. Yeah. They're so damn good.
Laporta.
No, that's a good point. Laporta. No, they do got a lot of weapons there.
I mean, is Cooper Kupp back in that discussion?
Who?
Cooper Kupp. Does he get in that discussion?
I know. Yeah, that's crazy that Puka Nacua is there and not Cooper Kupp.
Does he not get in that conversation anymore?
Is Puka Nacua the number 1 there now and not Cooper Kupp?
I mean, Cooper Kupp has just been hurt.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, they list Puka Nacua here has got odds and not Cooper Kupp. I'm with you. Right? And I guess that would hurt either one of their odds to lead the NFL in receiving yards. But Cooper Kupp's done it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like, he's done it before, and he's not even listed here for Bet MGM. That's a great point. I don't know. Puka Nacua did take the league by storm his rookie year, and there are big things expected from him, and they're gonna scheme him open real well. I mean, they're gonna scheme the hell out of it with Sean McVay, and they got a quarterback in Matt Stafford. I mean, you got a QB, one of the better QBs in the NFL. So yeah, maybe that is a sleeper, Puka Nacua, or maybe you should go Cooper Kupp. Maybe you get better value with Cooper Kupp.
I mean, you're definitely getting better value if he's not listed on that top one.
I guess the assumption is he's not going to stay healthy. That's got to be the assumption.
Yeah, that he's getting older, and I mean, granted, they said that what Puka Nacua said he got him throwing up in the bushes.
Yeah, work it out with him. Yeah. Oh yeah, old man will wear you out with that workout, man. Trust me. Yeah, but
Cooper Kupp's 31, so not terribly
not
old.
That old, yeah. I mean, that's still relatively young. Still easily got,
especially for a guy that's not based entirely in athleticism.
Yep, more of a technician out there. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm surprised. That's a great point. I don't know why Cooper Kupp's not on here getting some more love. Maybe that's the bet right there. If you really want to get bad, maybe that's the value bet is Cooper Kupp, who I have no idea. I don't even have the odds for him. He must be that low on the receiving leader odds.
Do you think Deshaun Watson stays healthy? Amari Cooper's got a shot at it in a contract year.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. They just paid somebody too.
And Njoku, right?
Yeah, you're right. They just paid another receiver though. If I'm not mistaken. I got to make sure I get it right. It might have been Judy. Is Judy with them now?
Didn't they make? Yeah, they made that trade, right?
Right, and then they sign him when they made the trade.
I think so.
Yes, right. 3-year. He just signed a 3-year deal.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
he's not.
They may try that, but yeah, he's got to catch. He's got to catch the ball first. I like Jerry Judy, but he's got to catch the ball first.
No, I totally agree. I'm just talking about like target shit.
Yeah. No, and they have Njoku too. I think still.
Yes, and they want to run the rock too.
Yeah.
So that
but
makes
Nick Chubb
me
is missing half the season.
That's a great point. Yeah.
But again, Deshaun Watson has to stay on the field.
Exactly. I said there's so many variables there. It's like the target share thing. Then can Deshaun Watson stay healthy? Can Deshaun Watson look anything close to his old self? He actually was better last year when he was playing. He was much better. But that team is loaded, man. The Browns are one of the more talented teams in the league. That team is loaded. So really no excuse but that division is brutal. Like there's no tougher division in football right now, in my opinion. That division the Steelers are the worst team in that division, and the Steelers are still one of the better teams in the league. And if they ever figure out quarterback, then watch out for the Steelers too. That's our receiving yards, the receiving yards leader odds from BetMGM. Let's get to the rushing yards leader odds here. It says Christian McCaffrey. These are the favorites to have the most rushing yards in the league. Christian McCaffrey at plus 300. Jonathan Taylor at plus 400. Saquon Barkley at plus 500. Breece Hall at plus 750. Bijan and Derrick Henry at plus 1,000. And Kyron Williams at plus 1,200. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, in that 49er offense, and they run the ball as much, if not more, than anybody in the league. So if he stays healthy, that makes the most sense. But I think the best value to me will probably be Bijan or Derrick Henry, both at plus 1,000.
I think Bijan, the problem is there's still Algiers on that roster, and who's a good runner. So he's going to get carries still. Now you need to get Bijan the lion's share, but Algiers is going to get carries, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to outrun it. So I think that would be my biggest worry of him leading the league would be that he's going to have to share some carries because we know he's going to be electric. We know he's going to be good. And hopefully Zach Robinson uses him better than he was being used last year.
Oh, Arthur Smith.
And yeah.
Old Arthur Smith.
So, but that would be my worry with him. But other than that, I'm with you. I think that just talent-wise. But, yeah, Christian McCaffrey has because they don't even have the backup either of somebody that you think is going to steal a bunch of carries from Christian McCaffrey.
No, they need it, actually.
They do.
They need another back to offset some of the burden that they put on Christian because he's just getting older. and you're just gonna need him more and more. He's so important to their blueprint to win. You can't afford not to have him in the playoffs. And at this point, you're the 49ers. You don't really need to prove much in the regular season. Yeah, the playoff positioning is great, but at this point, you still should be able to, even if you have to go on the road like Kansas City did this year, you should be able to win your way.
Yeah,
because you're a better team and you've been there and done that, and still get to the NFC title game, get to the Super Bowl. I still think they can do that. And Christian McCaffrey's health would mean more to me to their success than the home field advantage in the bye week. It would. He's just that important.
I'm curious about Jonathan Taylor and how that offense is going to look. Yeah. Because we can say if Anthony Richardson takes a step forward, he looked pretty good last year. You have Michael Pittman coming back. You have A.D. Mitchell now added to that team. Do they, between running Anthony Richardson and throwing the ball to those guys, does that take away carries? Or are they just going to bell cow it and say, dude, you're the guy. We got a young quarterback. We got young wide receivers that aren't fully there yet. You need to carry this team. And he just gets it because he's the most consistent piece of that offense.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. That's a good one because he is the most consistent, and they want to pound the rock. And with Anthony, but I think about Anthony Richardson running the rock a lot too. That's going to help him ultimately. Yeah. It actually, people say that, oh no, you steal rushing yards and steal rushing attempts from the running back when you have a dual threat quarterback. Actually, studies have shown that it helps running backs when you have a dual threat quarterback because they have to account for the quarterback as a rusher.
Makes sense.
So there's less resources they can allocate to stuff the box against the running back.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. That could end up being another one. That's true. I didn't think about that. Right now, I'll go with the value. I like that Derrick Henry Bijan one, but you're right. Bijan, he's got to share a lot of carries. So that's got to be a leap for him too.
Yeah, and that's what I just wouldn't put money on Henry staying healthy enough to do it. I think he's going to be really good when he plays, but he's going to miss some games. I'm not saying he's going to miss every game, but he's going to miss some time, especially because, again, what you just talked about with CMC, the exact same thing with the Ravens, that if Henry kind of gets beat up a little bit in the season, you sit him 2 games in the regular season or 3. Like, you sit him a little bit to get him healthy for the postseason.
I agree with that.
Because you're like, we need you when we need to go run when it's cold weather and we're playing somebody and it's just brutal. And we just need to run the ball.
We're hosting Kansas City.
We're hosting, something like that. And it's just brutal weather or whatever it is when we get down late in the season in the playoffs. We need you to run the ball.
Yeah.
And so I think that he'll miss some games just solely in the fact of load management, if nothing else.
That's that term, load management. For the old guys, man, it's necessary. They said 44% of the money is on Zamir White, actually, to have the most rushing yards, who is at plus 3,000. So they're looking at real good value. That's according to this Bet MGM post here, which, like I said, that's pretty interesting because he's
still with the Raiders, right?
Zamir White, I gotta go check that.
He was a backup for the Raiders last year, so he would be the starting running back, I assume, for the Raiders this year. They're assuming because Josh Jacobs did well in that offense last year that it wasn't Josh Jacobs, it was the offense. So Zamir White, who I had on my fantasy team at one point and did nothing for me. Maybe I'm a little skewed on this.
That's the guy.
He's a good running back. Like that's the reason I take is that I tend to take guys just based on that I like how they run, but
that's gotta be a fantasy thing. That's like some analytical fantasy thing. Some fantasy nerds found some stat, like you said, about the system and him, and that's why a lot of people are betting on him. Because I'm with you. I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So he had what 4.3 yards per carry last year, 1 touchdown. We had in 104 carries, 451 yards last season.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. This comes from Bet MGM, like a data scientist from Bet MGM. So
here's the one that kills me. This is why I wouldn't say it. His longest run last year was 15 yards.
Yeah,
that's where you say, like, I don't see. It feels like you have to have explosive plays to win. When you think of like iconic rushers and you have to have those big runs because, again, if your longest run's 15 all season and someone else breaks off a 70-yarder, that's like 8 or 9 of your longest. You're not. No, you're right. You just get a couple big plays and you've got 2 games worth of what they're going to make.
Name a Miami running back. I mean, any of them. They
Yeah.
do that like once a game. No, I'm with you. I
But
think it's because
that's Bijan.
it could be because he's in Vegas. In Vegas, is that what it is?
No, 100%. He's the guy in Vegas now because
So
Josh
maybe it's
Jacobs went to
because
Green Bay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because it's literally the sports betting capital of the world. So maybe like literally it's just Las Vegas
Oh,
Raiders fans.
shouldn't they have watched him last year then?
I don't know what I'm saying. Like, only thing I can think of as to why Zamir White would be, based on this post, the most bet on, at least 44% of the money being bet on him to have the most rushing yards, because that doesn't make any sense. All right, here's the odds for the BetMGM for who's going to have the most passing touchdowns in the NFL next season. Patrick Mahomes, he's got the best odds, plus 500. Then there's Dak Prescott, plus 600. 3 players tied with the third best odds at plus 700. CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, and Kirk Cousins. Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, and Jordan Love all tied with plus 1,000 odds to have the most passing touchdowns in the NFL this upcoming season. 38% of the money, that's the most bets, is on Aaron Rodgers to throw the most touchdowns. So if he stays healthy, he's got a good shot. If he stays healthy, he's got a real good shot. I would not. Brock Purdy is not going to lead the NFL in touchdown passes, in my opinion, just because
CMC.
I said, well, just because that's not the offense. The offense doesn't really work that way.
No,
that's they want to run the rock. Jordan Love.
They kind of don't they have 2 running backs too? They just signed Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, they want to run the rock. It's just like Jordan Love and Brock Purdy, those are offenses that want to run the rock. I think they'll be efficient, but they don't want to be prolific.
They lost Aaron Jones, but they kept A.J. Dillon, and then they signed Josh Jacobs, right? Am I correct in that?
I think you're right about that. Because Matt LaFleur likes having 2 running backs. Remember, they drafted A.J. Dillon when they had Aaron Jones like in his prime. People were like, why the hell are you doing that? He's like, because he likes having 2 running backs. He wants to run the rock. He wants to run the rock. So I'll say I'll take those 2 offenses out of it. Those 2 quarterbacks, because of those offenses out of it. And man, after Dak Prescott, I'm telling you, he's got a shot.
Yeah.
Their running game is going to be bad. And he's going to have Jake Ferguson. He's going to like a lot. And CeeDee Lamb's going to score a lot of touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes is, CJ Stroud might be the best bet here, man.
I'd say Dak or CJ Stroud or both. Dak, I mean, just because until Rico or Zeke proves that they're going to be a viable red zone threat and can get in the end zone over and over again, then I feel like you just have to throw the ball more and more, right?
Yeah, you can't take the ball out of Dak's hands to give it to Zeke in money time. No, I agree with you on that. Like,
that's why it feels like they're just going to be throwing the ball in the red zone, where even CJ Stroud, if Mixon's what they want him to be, then they're going to hand the ball off some more in the red zone. Now, I think, when you look at the targets he has, and he has, at least 2 or 3 red zone targets, say that they'll take Tank Dell out of that. And I think Tank Dell can find ways to be in there, but Diggs is great at it. And we know Nico Collins got a big body. He can go do that. And then you throw in Dalton Schultz.
Yeah. No, they got weapons.
They got weapons.
They got weapons galore. And you could argue that Bobby Slowick's going to be better as a play caller. And if CJ Stroud gets better because they have more weapons now, overall offensive line's going to be better because they'll be healthier. I don't know. CJ Stroud might be my pick in that category to lead the NFL in passes. Remember last year, the Texans, I got a Texan stat for you. The Texans last year, 27th in shotgun rate. They were 28th in shotgun runs. In terms of 3 receivers on the field, they had 3 receivers on the field only 62% of the time. That was the 22nd lowest rate in the NFL. So they're going to have more three wide receiver sets on the field, more 11 personnel on the field. They're going to have more shotgun snaps to just put CJ Stroud in a situation where he already can see the field and boom, he can just grip it and rip it. And I think all of that will end up, and by the way, I think all that will end up helping, the passing game. I think all of this is to juice the passing game pretty much. Even bringing in Joe Mixon, I think part of that is him as a receiver out of the backfield, even though CJ Stroud does not target running backs out of the backfield. Last year only targeted running backs 12% of the time. The league average is over 17%. So he doesn't target running backs like he wants to go downfield. Go look at his look at his average depth of target. Go look at the yards per attempt. He goes down the field. He's got verticality in his game. He wants to get down the field and stretch the field. So we'll see. He can do that more, though. Of course, now you got Stephon Diggs, a healthy Tank Dell. So CJ Stroud might be the pick there. All right,
let me ask this: Does Patrick
Mahomes
Mahomes get further up your list now that you added Hollywood Brown and X-Man?
Oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes that's why he's a favorite to win all of these because he should be.
I mean, he didn't have. I mean, he was what? He was 8th last season in
because they're
touchdowns.
receiving with the worst receiving core in the league, arguably. Yeah. So he was still 8th with the worst receiving core in the league, and they led the NFL in drops, did they not? Or they were one of the top 3 teams in drops. I mean, Nigel added receivers. He should be the favorite. And I think he's the favorite also. Yes, here he's the favorite to lead the NFL in passing yards, according to BetMGM. Here are the odds for players who have the most passing yards this upcoming season. Patrick Mahomes plus 500, CJ Stroud plus 600, Dak Prescott and Jared Goff at plus 750, and then Joe Burrow at plus 800. Tua also plus 850. 14% of the bets, the most bets on CJ Stroud to have the most passing yards. Yeah, like I said, for all the reasons we just listed.
Yeah,
I totally could see that because he's got more weapons now. Bobby Slowick was a first-time play caller last year. He was a rookie last year. Offensive line was the most injury-riddled offensive line in the last 23 years in the NFL. And you added a number 1 wide receiver in addition to Nico Collins already being one of the NFL's top 10 best wide receivers last season. Yeah, and Tank Dell is going to be healthy. It does seem like it's going to be a prolific and lethal passing attack, but we'll see. I even mentioned Dalton Schultz in there, like you brought up too. So I would take CJ Stroud actually as my. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes should be everybody's bet, but CJ Stroud and Dak Prescott are probably the 2 best bets to lead the NFL in passing yards, in my opinion. They're right there. But I would say CJ Stroud has a better chance because he's got more weapons than Dak.
And CJ Stroud was 3rd in yards per game. So he was like 9th or 7th or something in total yards. But if you say yards per game, he averaged 273, and that was good enough. Number 1 was Flacco, by the way, last year in yards per game.
Wow. That's a hell of a trivia question. Damn near everybody would get that wrong.
Yeah, Flacco's number 1 in yards per game. Kirk Cousins was number 2. CJ Stroud was number 3.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins lit it up, man. That's why people are picking at Drake London to lead the NFL in receiving because Kirk Cousins, man, he can light it up. Man, Joe Flacco, I forgot he came in and off the couch. And just started dropping dimes off the couch for the Browns. Matter of fact, is he still with the Browns?
No, Colts now.
They didn't sign him? They didn't re-sign him?
No.
That's interesting, man. He was a playoff quarterback for you. If Deshaun Watson doesn't at least lead them to the playoffs next year, there's going to be a lot of talk about, man, y'all should have re-signed Flacco at least and brought him in just in case. Or even if Deshaun Watson gets hurt, the conversation will be, why didn't y'all bring in Flacco? Last year, he helped us get to the playoffs. I don't know. You know why they didn't re-sign him, though? You can't have the guy in the locker room who led y'all to the playoffs last year and then this year have your franchise quarterback and have both of those guys there. You're asking for the locker room.
Nick Foles wasn't in Philly anymore.
Yeah, it's like, it's only room for one, man. It's only room for one. Like, one of y'all got to go. We can't have it. Yeah, that's true. That's exactly why it is. And so, did anybody pick up Flacco? Is Flacco on the couch?
Indy, I believe.
Smart move. Yeah, smart move by them. Veteran quarterback. All right, good stuff there. We come back. We'll dive into a stat that I found, which led me down a rabbit hole. And at the end of the rabbit hole, I ended up on the 40 acres and researching Steve Sarkisian. I'll tell you how I made the connection. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis and lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. So I was doing some research about the Texans. Doing some research about their new look offense with all the new weapons that they're unveiling this season with Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon. And I was just looking at Nico Collins stats. And for those who don't know, I've talked about this all the time. Nico Collins had just an epic season this past season. And if you look at like yards per route run, it was one of the best seasons we've seen in like the last 14 years. Matter of fact, here's the stat. If you look at wide receivers who been able to achieve at least 3 yards per route run, but also have at least 400 routes total. And so that's kind of the cutoff, the threshold. That means you're a high volume receiver. That means you're out on the field a lot. So we can cut it out. So you're a high volume guy out on the field a lot. And those guys who can average at least 3 yards per route run, since 2010, it's Victor Cruz, Andre Johnson. Julio Jones did it 3 times. Cooper Kupp did it once. Tyreek Hill did it twice. And Brandon Ayuk. Here's what those receivers have in common when I started going down the rabbit hole. So Nico Collins did in 2023. Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator and the play caller from the Mick Shanahan offensive tree. Tyreek Hill did it 22 and 23. Mike McDaniel from the Mick Shanahan coaching tree. Cooper Kupp did it in 2021. Sean McVay, part of that tree. Brandon Ayuk did it this past season. That's Shano himself. Julio Jones, actually Andre Johnson, 2012. Texans fans know Gary Kubiak, year after Shano left, and he was the offensive coordinator there, and the receivers coach at one point, and the quarterbacks coach at one point. So all those guys from the Mick Shanahan coaching tree, even going back to Mike Shanahan himself, because that's where Kubiak was a disciple of Mike Shanahan, and then also helped mentor Kyle Shanahan in that same tree. So it's happened 10 times in the last 14 years, 7 different players. Victor Cruz did it in 2012. Andre Johnson also did it in 2012. Julio Jones 15, 16, 17. Brandon Ayuk 2023, as well as Nico Collins in 2023. Cooper Kupp in 2021, and Tyreek Hill in 22 and in 23. So it's happened 10 times, 7 different players, like I said, in the last 14 years. 6 out of those 7 are from the Mick Shanahan coaching tree and scheme. And 8 of the you go look at the 8 play callers that are included here when I broke it down. And 6 of those are Mick Shanahan disciples. Sark actually is also in this group. Now, he's not directly from the Mick Shanahan coaching tree, but he is kind of a stepchild of it. Third, fourth, removed, if you will, from the Mick Shanahan coaching tree, because he followed Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta in 2017. So one of Julio Jones's years where he was able to achieve at least 3 yards per route run, with at least 400 routes ran, and like I said, only 7 players have done it in the last 14 years, and it's been done 10 times. He did it 3 times, twice with Kyle Shanahan and once with Sark. Sark in 2017. So Sark joins that play call group. And honestly, I almost consider Sark to be, like I said, kind of 1, 2, kind of 1 or 2 branches removed, if you will, from directly being on the Shanahan coaching tree, because they have so much in common. And one of them is just the way they attack offenses. And Sark, from that time in Atlanta, that's when he starts to increase his usage of play action pass, increase his usage of pre-snap motion. He starts to increase his usage of the pony package in 2 tailback sets, because he's following Shanahan to 21 personnel, and Shanahan uses a traditional fullback, but he wanted two tailbacks in the backfield, but he didn't want to cut from the offense, the Shanahan offense, cold turkey, because it was the best offense in the league at the time. So it would be ill-advised for you to decide, you know what, no, we're just gonna completely, shift and pivot to another offense when that offense at the time, like I said, it was the best offense in the league.
Not only that, won Matt Ryan an MVP.
And exactly, Matt, exactly. So why the hell would you just shift that? That would be irresponsible of you as a play caller to decide, no, you know what, my offense is way better than Kyle Shanahan's offense, even though it was the best offense in the league. So he studied it. He studied how to fuse the two offenses. And that's what basically made him also kind of a Mike Shanahan disciple. And from that point on, that's, like I said, the play action pass rates go up. There are certain signatures that the Mike Shanahan tree is famous for. And a lot of those you can see in Sark's offense. The play action pass rates are really, really high. Last year, Mike McDaniel and Kevin O'Connell, obviously Mike Shanahan disciples, led the NFL in the rate of play action passes last year. If you go look at pre-snap motion, pre-snap motion is it's all the Mike Shanahan coaching tree, pretty much. All of the leaders in pre-snap motion last season, and honestly, year after year, they're always guys from that Mike Shanahan coaching tree. Miami led the league last year at 83%. The 49ers were second at 75%. Rams third at 70%. The Green Bay Packers at 64%. They were fourth. Your top four teams in pre-snap motion in the NFL last year, all Shanahan disciples. And we talk about that a lot with Sark, one of his conceptual signatures. So play action pass, really high rates of that, really high rates of the pre-snap motion. Also condensed formations. It's something I don't talk enough about, but one of the things that makes the Shanahan offense really unique is they use really condensed formations. And basically, if you look at the width of different formations, the average width of a formation, Shanahan's offense has the least amount. If you look at it, they have the lowest formation width in the NFL. It didn't basically, if you look at it overall, 19.7 yards is the average width of a Shanahan formation. That's the lowest in the NFL. The Rams are 31st, second lowest at 20. Miami Dolphins at 21.2 yards as their average width of their formation. The Houston Texans are 29th, 21.7. So the teams with the lowest average width of formation in the NFL are all Shanahan disciples. As a matter of fact, Green Bay is 6th on that list too. You want to throw them out there. Also, so one of the signature things, and you'll see it in Sark's offense, really compressed and condensed sets, condensed formations, compressed sets, reduced splits by the wide receiver. It's all meant to create more space on the outside and bring DBs who don't want to be run defenders and force your DBs to be run defenders. And you can it's easier to pop one at the line of scrimmage. All it takes is one guy to miss, and you bring the defenders closer, or at least the blockers closer to the defenders, or vice versa. Because for Sark, he wants to create space on the outside, but also challenge the leverage of the DBs. So when there's no way you're going to play inside leverage when you're dealing with a condensed and compressed set, really reduced splits of the wide receivers, and they're really tight together. You can't. So you've already dictated the leverage he's got to play. He's got to play outside. He's got to play outside. You got no choice. And in doing that, you can, if a receiver knows how to work his way through traffic, you can run those rub routes and you can run those pick routes right across the formation, and a lot of crossing routes, a lot of misdirection. And what does Sark do? A lot of misdirection. He loves crossing routes. He loves overs and unders, and you can easier execute those concepts and get closer to your work when you have some of those tight, condensed, and compressed sets. So that's something that Sark increased a lot of after he followed my man Chano in Atlanta. He started using a lot of those compressed and condensed sets. So when I started looking at these coordinators and play callers who are responsible for some of the most prolific and effective receiving seasons based on yards per route run in the last decade and a half, and I noticed a trend that they're all McShanahan coaches. Sark actually fits it. The one that really doesn't fit it at all is actually Victor Cruz in 2012. Victor Cruz in 2012, the offensive coordinator, Kevin Gilbride, the old Love Your Blue offensive coordinator for the run and shoot. He was the offensive coordinator and play caller for the Giants during that time. But other than that, all the rest of these guys, and I include Sark in that group too, they're from that McShanahan coaching tree. So there is something about the way they call plays, and I think it is. One of the things I found when I was doing some more research about this. If you go look over the last 3 seasons, the 49ers have led the NFL in targets. Basically, they've had the lowest rate of targets against a cornerback in coverage for their wide receivers. So, based on the formation and the personnel grouping, Kyle Shanahan is better than anybody else based in the NFL, or and as good as anyone else in the NFL at scheming matchups, engineering matchups that force his wide receivers or to force their 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 worst coverage defenders to be matched up on 49er receivers. So it's basically he's really good at exploiting mismatches. Sark's really good at exploiting and engineering those mismatches. So over the last 3 years, 49ers have earned the 64% of their targets against a cornerback. That's the third lowest rate over that time span. The only other coaches that are also in the bottom 5 there of exploiting those types of mismatches, having your wide receivers matched up on a cornerback, Andy Reid and the Chiefs, they have a really low rate. So he's really good at engineering mismatches with his wide receivers. And Sean McVay's Rams and Ben Johnson's the Lions. They are the other coordinators, play callers, play designers who are really good at being able to engineer matchups, get their wide receivers matched up on safeties and matched up on linebackers, which is every defensive coordinator's nightmare. So, and Sark's that's essentially the goal of Sark's offense is to engineer matchup advantages for his wide receivers and for his skill talent, tight ends, whatever. And he's really good at doing it. That's the secret sauce, if you're ultimately of the Shanahan scheme. The reason that you want to have exotic personnel groupings, exotic formations, is and condensed sets and compressed sets. The pre-snap motion is ultimately to just engineer a certain matchup. And when you can engineer a certain matchup advantage, then you exploit it. And that's also something that I think Sark and Shano have in common. All right, so there you go. If I went down the rabbit hole, found my way back to the 40 acres. It sometimes it happens like that. All right, we come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats. We'll get into some of those, and also get back to the EA Sports college football video game player ratings, which have been released, the top 100 ranked players in the new video game. We'll talk about that too on the other side. All that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Austin is a great city, and it's one of the reasons people keep moving to Austin, making it one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or maybe you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. And right now is the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now it's the perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into what the facts, what the stats here. Get into some stats here. How about this one? Apparently, Caitlin Clark continues to set records in the WNBA. She became the fastest rookie in WNBA history to record 20 blocks. How about that? She's working hard. She had a 25, 13, a 5 rebound game, but she tied her season high with 3 blocks in the matchup and had 5 steals for the Fever. Hey, Caitlin Clark's starting to come into her own now. That stuff early on, those struggles, man, I think she's past those. So she's averaged, if you look at, I think 16.7 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 1.4 steals, and damn near a block a game.
No, she's once she just figured it out, it's just a more physical game. It just took her a little bit of time to figure it out.
Yeah, no, she's looked damn good lately. So as good as advertised, and I'm happy about that. I'm thrilled about it. I know some people were, they were saying, hey, she's gonna go into the WNBA and she's gonna struggle, and that transition. A lot of the stars from college basketball have gone through, and they would kind of imply that she wasn't special. Like, no, she'll go to the NBA and she'll the NBA, the WNBA will put her in her place. And I said, yeah, that could happen, of course, for a while, but her talent will transcend once she adapts and evolves. looks like it's happening pretty quickly. She's adapting and evolving right now.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
good for the game.
yeah, I get that. And there's some people that I think said more than others, and there's some people that went harder than others. Like
Yes.
the Diana Taurasi one is funny because she said it, it was like, yeah, and then she wasn't wrong entirely. She's like, look, she's gonna come in and it's gonna be more physical, it's gonna be tough. And it was. And then Diana Taurasi, when they played, came out and dapped her up and said, hey, before the game and talked to her. And then after the game was like, she's a heck of a player. Doing everything, but people are still like, yeah, what a horrible person. She said that about her. It's like, yeah, it's it's kind of how
Yeah.
sports work. No one's gonna
She's
walk
a
in.
competitor.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a
exactly.
competitor. I don't. Yeah, exactly right. No,
Eh,
I don't blame the women in WNBA for saying, "Hey, man," or for going after and all
yeah,
that
yeah.
either. That's
No,
well
and
within
that's
their
the thing.
right.
It show the respect on the court of not intentionally trying to hurt her. And those people that were coming and fouling her really hard early on, that stuff. I think the WNBA has kind of curbed that a little bit as well. They've
Mm-hmm.
been kind of went to their players like, hey man, don't ruin the meal ticket here. Don't
Yeah.
do that.
No. Yeah, I
Y'all can play
agree.
defense, y'all
Exactly.
can play hard on her, you can double team her all you want. But
Come on now.
when you're coming over and trying to bump, fight and stuff, that you can't do. But no, but it's good to see her. Angel Reese is playing really well
She is playing really
as
well.
well. It's gonna be fun
Yeah.
that All-Star game against Team USA is on the 20th. That'll be an interesting
Oh
game.
yeah, that is going to be fun. Yeah, I
I
like
know
that.
that they came out and they were talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese playing together for the first time ever in that game because they will both be in the WNBA All-Star game, All-Star
Oh, that's
team
nice. It's a
against
nice
Team
storyline.
USA.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
Angel Reese said she's looking forward to it, and then hopefully they'll be playing again together in 2028 on the Olympic team.
Nice. Oh yeah. That's legit. Oh yeah, man. That's honestly, if they can continue, and that's asking a lot because that's 4 years from now to kind of ride this wave of momentum because it's more than a moment now for women's basketball. I think now we're past like it was just a moment.
Yeah,
It's like some of that hype and buzz is actually translating to the WNBA. The numbers
yeah,
are up, the viewership is up, attendance is up. So it's more than just a moment now, and I hope they capitalize on it. The Olympic thing was, obviously controversial. Caitlin Clark not making the team, but I think right now people are still talking about women's basketball
no, and
at the
it'll be
WNBA level. Yeah.
it'll make that game on the 20th much
Oh
more must
yeah,
watch because
yeah.
it is going to be
We
Team USA versus the people who didn't make Team USA, basically.
so basically, a lot of the younger ladies who came in this year then are
Yes,
going to be on the All Star team for
at least Caitlin.
WNBA. At
That's
least
the two
Caitlin
I can
Clark.
tell
Will
you
Angel
that I
Reese
know.
make it? Angel Reese will make it
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Assume she'll make it.
But
Yeah.
yeah, she's
Um,
got 20
she's
straight double doubles now,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some people saying basically she translated better, her game translated better
Yeah,
than Caitlin Clark's did, or at least faster, I should say. All right, there you go. So Caitlin Clark still doing the damn thing. All right, I had another stat for you, but we can save it. We'll save that for tomorrow. Let's try to stay on time here. So we'll come back. We got some discussion about the player ratings, top 100 player ratings from the new EA Sports College Football video game are out. We'll get to those. We'll also get to some discussion about Team USA. Kawhi Leonard did withdraw from Team USA, but no problem taking care of Team Canada in that exhibition last night. We'll give my man Patrick thought about that. He actually watched that game. He watched any basketball, summer league basketball, exhibition, international basketball. That's why we love Patrick on this show. All right, we come back. We'll discuss that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday edition of the Rodcast. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire, Patrick Davies, who comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. That's when he comes up with a really cool and creative theme for a new theme Thursday. And today, because it is actually 7-Eleven. That's the date. And it is the unofficial holiday for 7-Eleven. Yeah, the business, 7-Eleven. The one-stop shop right around your corner. And I got two 7-Elevens by me. So in honor of it being 7-Eleven, by the way, you can get you a free Slurpee today too. All of the songs reference 7-Eleven in the lyrics in some way, form, or fashion. So that it is. So happy 7-Eleven out there.
Yes.
I haven't had a 7-Eleven Slurpee in forever. Honestly, I don't remember ever getting the actual 7-Eleven Slurpee. I would get like an icy, the icy, the actual icy. I'll get ices, but that's different than like a 7-Eleven Slurpee. It is essentially in the same family. I get that, but I don't think I ever had like the Slurpee.
I could have, but I would have been a kid.
Yeah,
I don't think as an adult I've ever gotten. I don't think I've gotten an icy as an adult.
I've got an icy as an adult. I love ices and like snow cones.
I don't think.
That's good stuff.
I mean, and maybe I have 20 years ago. I don't, but I like in the last 15 years, 10 to 15 years, I can't say.
You had icy? Yeah,
like
I just really.
I don't think I have.
Oh man, I love those things. Everybody's literally within walking distance from my house.
Yeah.
You know that snow cone stand is right there, Brody. Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Every now and then your boy just walk on down there. And I purposely walk in the heat so that I get really
so you enjoy
hot.
it better.
So it's even more refreshing. Oh, that first taste of a snow cone after sitting in the heat. Oh man, it's excellent. Excellent.
I think I've driven past that a million times in my life. And I've thought about it, never stopped, not once.
You've been tempted. You're like,
no, you see it, you're like, that'd be good right now. And then I'm like, nah.
Yeah, not we're driving over there, right? Or detouring from wherever you're going. All I say is, don't get the. I was getting a big snow cone to me like that. No, that's a little too much. Like I get usually the small one. I get like the small one.
Yeah,
and because I don't want to. I mean, who wants like a huge snow cone? So it's to melt. Basically, just comes like a sugary drink. I don't want that. So even when I get a snow cone or the icy or the Slurpee, I'm gonna get a small one. Even when I was a kid.
Because once it melts down, it's just watered down snow cone flavor.
Sugar water. Yeah. No, I don't want watered down sugar water. No,
but that's I see it, and I always think like too. It's been so long that I have no idea what is on the menu or how to order snow cones. And
that's another issue.
And so then I have to go stand there for a little bit, but I'm gonna be the only one. So then they have to be like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, I have to figure out what this is first because I haven't done this since I was a kid. And just willy nilly go up.
It's at least, I want to say that the flavors, I want to say there's at least 100 flavors, like something crazy like that. Like it's a bunch of them. Some of them on the board. Sometimes they got them like on this, on some laminated thing there for all of them. But it's a bunch of flavors. Like it's way too many. It's like Netflix. It's just too much stuff. And you know what I mean? You can't even decide on what you want because it's too much damn stuff. You know what I mean? And it ain't all good. It's only a few things that are actually good. But that's basically how I feel when I sit snow because I feel like I'm watching Netflix. I'm like, why is it necessary to have all this stuff? This is way too much stuff. Way too much content.
Just narrow it down to the winners.
Yeah, just narrow it down to the best, and then give me that. No, I don't need.
How many of these little containers have dust on them? Get rid of them. They got dust on them because you ain't using them. Get rid of them.
What's the expiration date on some of these? I need to know because I know ain't nobody ever ordered that one. The chocolate flavored snow cone. Who the hell's ordering that? Okay, so I know that was dusty.
No, you just get chocolate.
Just go get some chocolate, damn it. Yeah, exactly. The coffee flavored one, whatever the hell it is. All right. Anyway, it's like, all right. So we'll get to some discussion here about the EA Sports College Football video game coming up. That is, I think, going to drop next week. But they are leaking out a lot of the ratings, and they got the top 100 players that have been released, and we'll get to those ratings. Two Longhorns getting some love, and also Team USA, the U.S. men's national team, the basketball team. They did face off in an exhibition against Canada. There's a lot of talk about who the starting lineup would be. Well, we got a little bit of a sneak peek about who the starting lineup may consist of from that exhibition versus Canada. So we'll talk about that. And my man Patrick got a chance to watch it because he watches any type of basketball. Are you watching the 3-on-3? the Ice Cube.
No, I haven't watched a lot of it this year.
Okay.
I have not
Oh,
watched
well,
a lot of that this year.
you've watched some then.
I've watched
You
it
said
in
a lot.
years past, and
Oh,
I've
wow.
put it on before, but it's like the first year, it was kind of like an entertaining, different thing.
Yeah,
But
just to see what the format and everything.
yeah, it's not bad, but yeah, it's not like because there's no like in the NBA, then you can keep following. You follow the players from that, and then that's kind of like the post NBA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so,
You're
like,
right.
okay,
Retirement league, the retirement league, for and not even for the stars, because the real stars are like, no, I
got
don't need
paid.
to play. I'm good.
Even go do
So
it.
it's like the it's like the C list retirement.
Yeah, it's like I know
NBA
Katino
guys.
Mobley's been in that league for a long time.
There you go. That's a perfect example.
Yes.
Yes. Like I said, C-list NBA guys who like, know what, I still want to play and I can earn a little check. That'd be cool. But no, I mean, remember they at one point, Ice Cube offered Caitlin Clark some what was it?
I know he offered Shaq a bunch of money too to try and come in and play in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the biggest star they've ever had in that 3-on-3 league? That's the question. That's kind of the thing. That's what they're struggling to get. They need more though. They need more
names.
power.
I think Steven Jackson played in it for a while.
Okay. Yeah, that's what they need. They just need a steady flow of star power. I just don't know.
I'm sure there's somebody I'm just not thinking of that played in it. But yeah, no, it's entertaining enough. But again, it's like, and there's only like what 6 to 8 teams, something like that. Mm. So the matchups kind of every week are similar, and you get in. I mean, I'm interested. They're coming to San Antonio. I may go down there for San Antonio to see it in person and see if it's any different in person.
Yeah, you might be right about that. And it's not an Olympic sport. I know they were trying to. Is it?
I know women's 3-on-3 is.
Okay, I knew there was a push to try to. That was part of why the inception of the league. They were like, oh no, we'll make a push for Olympic 3-on-3 basketball. All right, so anyway, there you go. My man, my point is Patrick watches all basketball, folks.
Yes.
Y'all want to talk some summer league? The man can do that too. We won't allow it on the show. We won't allow it. We won't allow summer league discussion.
Oh man, but they're about to start Vegas, man.
Vegas. He's champing at the bit to talk some summer league basketball with y'all.
Steph Castle looked really good in that last game, man. Stephon Castle looked good.
I know you're watching it. I know you got notes on it and everything. No, you and my boy Matt Butler, because I want to say they do like fantasy in summer league.
That seems terrible. No, I couldn't do that.
No, he's like you. If I need an update on some hoops of any kind, I want to say he might even do like WNBA like fantasy. Like he is man. He is he's excellent. Like he's amazing.
Yeah, he's good at it.
He's really good at it, but he's like I said, I don't know if I'd want to be good at something if I got to watch, summer league basketball, WNBA basketball, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want to be forced to watch it. Yeah, I want to watch Caitlin Clark when she's playing, in the game against Andrews. I don't want to be forced to watch all of them, but hey, man, my man is committed. All right, somebody else who's committed is my man Patrick, committed to the Horn headlines and bringing you all of the top stories of the day. So let's get to those. Let's get updated, educated, and informed with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, the Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA basketball started their warm-up to the Olympics with an exhibition game against Canada last night in Las Vegas, winning 86-72. USA had 4 players scoring double digits, led by Anthony Edwards with 13, and Anthony Davis picked up a double-double with 10 points and 11 rebounds. Defense led the way for USA, holding Canada 33% shooting on the night and picking up 11 steals and 9 blocks. Team USA will look to fix some of their turnover problems and get a quicker start offensively in their second tune-up game against Australia on Monday. In the MLB, the Astros pushed their home win streak to 8 games with a 9-1 win over the Marlins yesterday. A 4-run second inning gave the Astros a lead, and they never looked back, with Yanier Diaz contributing 3 RBIs. Framber Valdez was able to strike out 10 in his 7 innings pitch, getting his 8th win of the season, and Caleb Ort finished out the game. Jordan Alvarez left the game after getting a walk and an RBI single, left the game with right hip tightness. Jake Bloss will get his second career start tonight, returning from the IL after leaving his first start with shoulder discomfort in June. And the Rangers snapped their 5-game win streak with a loss to the Angels 7-2 yesterday. Michael Lorenzen gave up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, starting in the second, where he allowed 3 walks and a hit by pitch in the inning. Leota Taveras got a 2-run homer in the 5th, but it wasn't enough. However, the Rangers still win the series versus the Angels 2-1 and now get the day off before facing the Astros in a weekend series before the All-Star break. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the horn headlines. We appreciate those. We'll get to one of those horn headlines. Actually, we'll talk about the Team USA exhibition game against Canada last night. But first, I want to get into the ratings, the latest player ratings that have been revealed from the new EA Sports college football video game. First and foremost, I know you care about the Longhorns. 2 Longhorns were revealed in the top 100 players list and ranking for the new EA Sports college football video game. Quinn Ewers and Kelvin Banks. Quinn Ewers is ranked 27th overall, 92 rating, got 81 speed. He's actually faster than Shadur Sanders actually based on the game score. I don't know if he is in real life. 83 acceleration, 56 strength, 97 awareness. They got Quinn Ewers awareness at 97 and the 76 jumping ability. What about the 97 awareness for Quinn? That's pretty damn good. I mean, basically saying that his, to me, the awareness would be awareness in the pocket, right?
I think
awareness of pressure. Like, what's their official definition of awareness? Pocket presence has got to be part of awareness, right?
I think awareness is more of seeing if your guys are open.
Is that awareness?
And for the game.
For the game.
I think for the game.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. I could be different, and it could change. If I have not looked at what all those mean a ton, but
I have no idea either. Trust me.
But I think that's more of what it is that they have more of an awareness of. So basically, if you're playing against him in the game and it's a computer, the computer has a better percentage to find the guy and not throw the bad pick.
Okay. All right. I like that. All right. No, I think that's the highest of all of his ratings is his awareness. And the same is true for Kelvin Banks, who's 13th, and his awareness is 96. So obviously it changes, I'm sure, awareness overall. To me, it's got to be football instincts then. If it's awareness and they're true to everybody, it's got to be like just your overall instincts. And yeah, for a quarterback, that translates to, like you said, aware of the receivers who are open. For Kelvin Banks, I'm sure it translates to something different. But that's his highest score is his awareness as well. But he's 94 overall, 13th ranked player out of 100, 94 overall, 67 speed, 72 acceleration, 92 strength, 96 awareness, as I pointed out. His jumping ability is 71. So that's Kelvin Banks. Those are only 2 guys. And I know some people are saying, "Whoa, what do you mean? Texas only has 2 players there. One of the top 6 best teams on the game." That is true. To me, that probably means there's more talented depth around Quinn and around Kelvin Banks. So I think probably the depth at Texas is rated relatively high. Like you don't have a lot of guys with really low scores overall on the team. So you got a lot of guys with relatively high scores is probably what that means to me. But of course, when that's revealed, we shall see. And remember last year, if let's say they decided to bring back the game prior to last season, how many Longhorns are ranked in the top 100 then? 2, 3. Yeah. Kelvin Banks, Xavier Worthy, maybe Jalen Ford coming out that great season he had. He's in there too. But that's about it. I mean, T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy hadn't even made their first start yet prior to last season. A.D. Mitchell had just transferred. He hadn't proven himself yet. Jonathan Brooks wasn't a Doak Walker Award finalist. Would have won the Doak Walker Award. He hadn't gotten hurt. But beginning of the season, Bijan and Rojo are gone. Those are unproven commodities. We have no idea. Matter of fact, the guy, he didn't even start the first game. Remember, Cedric Baxter won the starting job. So he definitely wouldn't have been on the game. I mean, you might have had just 2, 3 guys on there last year. 3, I think, at the beginning of the season. But at the end of the season, once they send out the updates, which I'm sure they do, right? Send out the updates, and you probably would have had Xavier Worthy, Kelvin Banks, Sweat, Murphy. I still think Jalen Ford should make it, even though I guess his season was down, so maybe they took him off last year. But maybe A.D. Mitchell's got a chance to make it. Maybe J.T. Sanders. I definitely think Jonathan Brooks would have been on there. So you got to say 5, maybe 6 guys in your top 100 by the end of the year. So that could be the case here too. If you're going to make a run to win the SEC, go to the SEC title game, make a run to the college ball playoff, there will be at least 2 more names that pop up that have to that pop up to be impact players for you. If you're gonna make it all the way to the SEC title game. So I don't know who it's gonna be. Right now, my best bet would be who would be the next one for you, Patrick? Out of this two, who's the next one that should be in the top 100 by the end of the season?
I mean, you'd hope that it would be a wide receiver would be able to get in there.
That sounds about right.
So either Isaiah Bond or Jonte Cook, you would kind of hope. And I mean, Wingo maybe is the offshoot of that, but one of those guys to be able to get to be a 90 and put themselves in that top group.
I agree with that.
You would hope that would be in there. Defensively, I mean, maybe a Trey Moore if he has a really good season.
Man, he's proven it at one level. If he can prove it at this level,
yeah. If he plays like
that,
if he does what he did at UTSA, then he's clearly in there. Anthony Hill would be an interesting one to see.
Anthony Hill's the one I'd like to see on there. Make that kind of jump.
And
And
then I mean, Alfred Collins. We know that there's been, always been the potential for Alfred Collins, but this is where we said there was potential with Tavondre Sweat for a long time, and then we said what he did last season. So there's a possibility that could be a guy you could look at too.
I agree with that. No, you're right about that. And looking at the overall rankings, you have the top 100 guys. Here is the breakdown of how many each school had, basically which school had the most selections in the top 100 ranking for EA Sports New College Football. Ohio State had 8 players in the top 100, easily considered the most talented team in college football. Georgia and Alabama, Texas got to see Georgia. Georgia had 6. Michigan and Oregon had 5. Texas got to see Michigan. LSU, Iowa, and Notre Dame had 4. Ole Miss, Penn State, Kansas, Arizona, and Miami with 3. Shout out to Kansas showing up. Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Clemson, Texas, Colorado, North Carolina, Kentucky, Louisville, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and Liberty all with 2. And 1 A&M. A&M's got 1, Texas got 1, West Virginia, a bunch of schools got 1. There you go. So that's the breakdown of the players based on at least the schools who have the most players on the EA Sports College Football video game. And your top 10 players, or at least the highest ranked players, Will Johnson. He is the cornerback out of Michigan. He's the highest rated player at 96 overall. Will Campbell is also a 96 overall. He's the highest rated tackle. Kelvin Banks is the second highest rated tackle. And Ollie Gordon is also a 96, the Oklahoma State running back who just recently had to deal with being arrested for a DWI and was at Big 12 Media Days talking about that. So those are the 3 top players. And then I think there are 7 other players with a 95 overall, including 2 players that Texas will have to see, including Mason Graham, the D tackle from Michigan, and Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, and Tate Redlich, the Georgia offensive guard, among that group. So at least nobody got a 99. 99 should be sacred. That should be a really exclusive club. Don't give out 99 until you see a player that seems generational. Generational players get 99. Everybody else kind of starts after that. That's 98 and lower.
And especially in a college game where it'd be like at the end of the season, if someone just has the all out, hands down Heisman Trophy winner, then maybe. But coming into a season, you'd have to
be it. You're right.
Yeah, you'd have to be a sophomore who won the Heisman hands down, and that'd be your only.
That's great. But maybe Caleb Williams, who won the Heisman as an underclassman and then coming back. That's how you can be all right, maybe I can justify 99 for that dude. But other than that, no, that's great. That's a good rule. Rule of thumb. No 99s at the beginning of the year unless you are a Heisman Trophy, a returning Heisman Trophy winner.
Even
then, you're right. It shouldn't be a guarantee. It could have been a weak year.
Yeah.
For Heisman Trophy winners. And there could be some exceptions, if you just had a truly dominant player. I'm trying to think, there are dominant players who can't win the Heisman just because we know it's usually an award given to
So
the
like a
best player,
DN or
usually
somebody
quarterback
like
on the
that,
best
yeah.
team. Yeah, just a freak of nature. You know what I mean? That kind of player where they're truly the most dominant force in college football. They just can't win the Heisman. Like the
Yeah.
Dominican Sue type player.
Yeah.
That kind of guy. So, but those are rare too, like extremely rare to have those kind of players in college football. Like Will Johnson he would have been the top cornerback drafted last season if he left last NFL draft, and he's still only a 96. So 99, I agree with it. Keep it sacred and only break it out for guys who are seen to be generational players. And Patrick, you're right. It should only be updated at the end of the season most of the time too, that they achieve that, if that is indeed the case. All right, so those are the ranking. Oh, by the way, quarterback rankings. Quinn Ewers is tied in the quarterback rankings for the highest rated quarterbacks on the video game with Dylan Gabriel with a 90. They got the 92 overall grade. Both of those quarterbacks do. And then Carson Beck and Shadir Sanders have a 93 overall rating, and they are tied with the at the top with the best rating for any quarterback in the country or in the game. So there you go. Quinn Ewers, by the end of the season, hopefully Quinn Ewers gets updated and he is the highest rated quarterback in the game. We shall see. All right, let's get to this Team USA conversation. Last night, Team USA, the men's national team, took on Canada. And a lot of people were asking questions about who's going to be the starting lineup versus Canada, or at least the starting lineup when they start the Olympics. It's just an exhibition game. But they trotted out Steph, LeBron, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, and Drew Holiday. A lot of people were surprised to see Drew Holiday as a starter for Team USA. But given the guards they were going up against, Patrick, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander among that group, Jamal Murray among that group, understandable that you want a perimeter defender. What were your thoughts about Team USA and how you looked the 86-72 win over Team Canada last night in the exhibition contest?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, we can always say there's only one basketball, so you didn't need 5 offensive players. You wanted someone to play a little bit more defense. It's one of the reasons why I think they're bringing in Derek White to play alongside to replace Kawhi Leonard. Is it gives you another guard that can come in there and play good defense for you, give you minutes. Doesn't need the ball in his hands, but can hit threes if the ball comes out, but he doesn't need the ball in his hands. Drew Holiday is that type of guy as well. So they felt good about that. The game overall, they just started extremely slow. Looked a little tight. Looked like they were trying to find a good shot, and then they found a good shot and they just weren't hitting them. So the offense didn't work well. Way too many turnovers early as well, and so Canada got out to a little bit of a lead early on, and then they started putting the bench players. Anthony Edwards came in, Jason Tatum came in, and they just felt like they wanted a little bit more. They were a little bit, they weren't worried about it. They knew it was an exhibition game in Vegas, so they just came out and shooting. And all of a sudden, the shots start to go. Everything becomes a little bit easier. The defense tightens up a little bit more. When you start playing offense, you start hitting shots. Your defense can tighten up. And from that point on, USA was in the driver's seat, and then they were able to keep going. Joel Embiid didn't have a very good game. I think he'll get better as time goes on. He just didn't look the part. Fouled out. Just it did not look the part in game 1. But we know he can play basketball. I just don't think he's played with, players like this very often. We looked at Philadelphia roster last year, wasn't great. Tyrese Maxey's a good player, but Tyrese Maxey is not Steph Curry and LeBron James and Drew Holiday and those guys on the court with you. So I think he's just kind of getting used to playing with that. Being a guy that they want him to play a lot more defense in the post instead of being a guy where the offense completely runs through him. Where he was like what he is in Philadelphia. So there'll be a little bit of learning curve, but even if that isn't, you'll see Anthony Davis come in and play a little bit more. He had a good game. He knew what it is to be in the Olympics. He knows what it means to be that type of player. So you'll see him come in. And I think they showed versatility that they went small ball a little bit more early on in this game. And you'll see against other teams, like if they play France, you'll probably see them go with a little bit bigger lineup. And you may see them start Embiid and Anthony Davis, or put Bam Adebayo in there a little bit more and play a little bit bigger. KD, when he comes back, will be a big piece of this team as well. I'm guessing he would replace Devin Booker in this starting lineup, maybe Drew Holiday, but possibly Devin Booker. You put him back on that bench and then have a little bit more height and have another player that guys just like the ball with. and he like that's Kevin Durant just loves to play basketball, so he's a guy that everyone enjoys playing with because he's going to try and find the open guy. He's not going to just hog the ball and go into business for himself. And I don't think anybody on the team really did. I think there's guys that are just more used to having the ball in their hands. And so you saw that a little bit where guys would get a little bit more. But even Anthony Edwards, who started out going, which I think he knew he came in and no one was hitting shots. So I'm going to go try and hit my shots. He started hitting his. He was fine. And then had a couple turnovers and then shorted up and started making better passes. They played much better in the second half than they played in the first half. But overall, you wanted to see it because Team Canada is one of the better teams. They just didn't have the size to go up against USA. If they were able to have Zach Edey on that team, Zach Edey opted out to play to get ready for Memphis, go to Summer League. So if they would have had Zach Edey, just because that gives you the 7'4" guy in the middle that Team USA has to deal with. So that would have been something. But without that, really good guard play, but not enough players to get it done. And once you start going to the bench and, in actual play, SGA and Jamal Murray will play more. And so you'd have to deal with that more, that when the bench came in for Canada in an exhibition game, Team USA's depth is just going to be bigger than pretty much any other team they're going to play against.
Yeah, you're right. And who can present, guards like Canada have, and also a presence inside. I mean, they'll go to Abu Dhabi and they'll play, I believe, Australia and Serbia in some exhibition games. Serbia will have Jokic.
I don't know if Jokic is on that team, though. Is he?
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't know.
I don't think he is. I don't think he's playing on that team.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's the case, then they definitely don't have anything to worry about if he's not playing on.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing with them.
Okay. Well, yeah. See, I don't know who's going to be able to present that kind of problem to Team USA. I think you may have one, but not the other, kind of how Canada did. And also, leading scorer ended up being Anthony Edwards, as you mentioned. He had 13 points, 6 of 10, had 3 rebounds. Steph Curry had 12 points in that game. And Steph did say something else. He said it's tough for guys on this team who are used to taking, 15, 20 shots. He says sometimes it's just tough to not overthink it.
Yeah.
Because some guys are trying deliberately to not be a ball hog.
Yep.
And they understand, hey, I'm used to being, the guy taking 15, 20 shots a game. I don't want to be a ball hog, and I don't want to stop the ball movement. I don't want it to stop with me because there's so many other talented guys. So he said guys will overthink it, actually. And then everybody starts passing.
Yeah.
And he said it's really tough to find your groove, your rhythm, and your role with this group.
And especially guys like, Tatum, LeBron, those guys are just big guys that can go downhill. And on most of these guys that are going to be guarding them, they'd have no problem getting to the basket and getting high percentage shots. But you just don't really want to do that over and over and over again when you're playing on a team like this. It takes everybody else out of the game, that the ball gets to you and you just dribble in and go right to the bucket over and over. And everybody else has to kind of sit around, wait for a three or collapse in to try and get a rebound. So
exactly.
There is that part of it. If they're trying to figure out, that's why you do these exhibition games, so you can start to feel a little bit better, so you can win some games and feel a little bit better. So you're not doing that in your opening rounds. I don't know how bad their opening rounds, because they have Serbia in it, but I believe when I looked the other night, Jokic was not part of that team. Jovic, who plays for Miami, is, but not Jokic. So if you take him out, that limits what they're going to be able to do. I think France would be your biggest worry. France and Canada are probably your two biggest worries in the actual Olympics. France has a bunch of young players and they have height, and then you also talk about if they've got guys like Reece Shea and Alex Sarr, who are your number 1 and 2 pick in the draft this year. If those guys end up over there, there's some good young players over in France. So those would be the ones. Also, it's in Paris, so there's a little home court advantage for them.
That's a great point. And their defense, at least at the rim, it's going to be next level. for that French team. All right, good breakdown there about the team USA's win over Canada, 86-72. All right, we come back. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain. Been looking at Texas's transition into the SEC, new ecosystem, new trends, new philosophies, new systems, new identities, offensively and defensively. So I've been looking at Texas really in some of the conceptual signatures that Texas actually has been using over the last 3 years under Sark, and how those may translate into their transition into the SEC based on the recent trends and patterns that I've been able to recognize in the SEC. So we'll talk about that on the other side and go behind the burnt orange curtain when we come back right here on the Rodcast. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation here. Go behind the burnt orange curtain. So I've been looking at the SEC and Texas' upcoming schedule. We're just doing deep dive on the SEC as a conference, stylistically, philosophically, like what are the different trends, what are the different conceptual signatures, like what style of football do these teams play? Something that we were all really familiar with in Big 12 country, not the case with the SEC. So I've been looking at just a few of the just offensive patterns, some of the concepts offensively that stand out to me, that I think are going to be important for Texas transition into the SEC. Some things I've been tracking. You guys know this with Texas for years now. I'm starting to track them in the SEC and see where Texas is. Are they ahead of the game? Are they ahead of the curve with some of these concepts and trends? Or are they behind the curve in terms of their transition to the SEC with some of the more popular concepts and ideas in the SEC? So first, you guys hear me talk about pre-snap motion all the time. The pre-snap motion rate in the SEC is relatively low compared to what Texas saw in the Big 12 and to what Texas runs. There's 34% average pre-snap motion rate in the SEC. Texas is above 50%, usually between 50 and 55%. The Big 12 has a higher rates of it too. And you guys know I've actually suggested, advised Sark to use even more of it, right? And he used a lot of pre-snap motion, 50%, but his I would say a lot of his inspirations in the NFL from that Nick Shanahan coaching tree, hell man, they're at 80+%. Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel's at 80+%. Shano and put the 49ers at 75%. Sean McVay's at 70%. Matt LaFleur is at 64%. So I think he actually could ratchet it up even more. And this year would be the year to do it. It's something I think targets to motion, something that with more motion, you can end up targeting more players who were in motion. The completion percentage is always 80+%, or at least it has been in 2 to 3 years that Texas has been with Sark as the head coach under the Sark regime. And in the other year, it was 78% completion percentage. Always, 10 yards per attempt or around it, which is what you have been for the last 2 years. Your explosive play rate is really high out of it. So when you are targeting players who were in motion prior to the snap or at the time of the snap, it actually increases your efficiency and your explosivity as an offense. So Sark's ahead of the game on that, though. He should be, like I said, even more so. He should be even more extreme with his usage, but he's ahead of the SEC average. If you look at the explosive play rate overall in the SEC is at 14%. You got better defense in the SEC. Texas is nearly 17% explosive play rate in 2023. Texas offense is really explosive. It could be even more so. If Sark starts using more concepts, doubling down on more explosive concepts, like I just mentioned, targets to motion, right? You got explosive play rates of 30%, between 23 and 30%. Same thing is true when Sark uses exotic personnel groupings like the pony package. I talk about the pony package all the time. Well, I love it because the explosive play rates are so high out of it. These are plays, chunky yardage plays, 10+ yard runs, 15+ yard passes. You're at the last 3 years, you're at 17, 23, and 23% explosive play rates out of those the multi-back sets, the pony package. If you even look at the 6-0 line package, another exotic personnel grouping, your explosive pass rate, man, you're at 26% last year. Your explosive pass rate out of that 6-0 line package. Your explosive play rate is 18+%. So you're above your average in a lot of those, those areas, in a lot of those personnel groupings. You're above your average offensively in explosive play rate, just because defenses, they can't prepare for it, or at least they don't prepare for it. They only got a certain amount of time to prepare for it, number one. But they don't see them all the time. They don't see those looks. They don't see 2 tailback sets. Remember the story about Nick Saban says his team didn't know what to do when Tennessee lined up in I formation against them a couple of years ago. He had to call a timeout because they hadn't seen I formation. Just two backs in the backfield. They don't see it. They work in spread offenses all the time. So present them with some unfamiliar concepts. Like those pony package. That's why the pony package is the most explosive, most efficient, and most effective personnel grouping that Sark has used. The 6-0 line package. Nobody has a 6-0 line package with as much girth and as much mass as Texas, or it's not in the Big 12. But even in the SEC, they don't see that a lot. So break it out. Even targets to motion are pretty exotic because not most teams' targets to motion are relatively low. Their rates are, probably less than 10%. If you get extreme with some of these concepts and some of these personnel packages, some of these ideas, I'm telling you, I think the explosive play rates would go through the roof. You'd be even more explosive. It's just my theory. Empty is another one of those things. We'll talk about that a little bit later on too. But getting back to it, so explosive play rate, Texas is ahead of the curve there. Deep pass rate, Texas is about average. Right now they're at 14% deep pass rate. I think the SEC average is around 13.7%. So it's not, the difference is negligible. Sark wants to be more of a deep ball connoisseur. Right? He wants to be more of a lethal vertical deep passing attack. I think he recognized that it's not a natural strength for Quinn. Quinn has gotten better at it, especially the last 7 starts. He's averaging 43% completion percentage on those deep balls. He was 24% prior to that, went from an off-target rate of 44% on deep balls to 25%. So his QBR was 23 on deep balls. It was abysmal. Now it's 92 in the last 7 starts. So he's getting better with the deep ball. And I think Sark wants to throw it more. You could see it increase more in the SEC. I wouldn't guarantee it, but I know Sark philosophically, it's part of his DNA, and he was stubborn about it when he first got to Texas. He has since dialed it back, curtailed it, because I think he recognized it was hurting his team when you're not converting those deep shots on early downs, and you get it 2nd and down, 2nd and 10, 2nd and long, and then 3rd and long, it ends up hurting your young quarterback. So deep ball, you're relatively even there. Early down pass rate. The early down pass rate in the SEC is around 45%, so they want to run the ball on early downs. Sark likes to pass the ball actually on early downs. My man CJ Vogel had a great stat. You can go check it out at CJ Vogel _OTF. He went and analyzed every first drive for Texas in every game last season and found that Sark had over a 75% pass rate on that first drive. Now they're not all vertical shots downfield. They're not all deep shots, but screens, RPOs, some high percentage passes, definitely a lot of play action in there. It's 50% of Sark's passing game. So it just shows you that Sark would rather, at least when he's in his bag, when he's being innovative and creative, that's part of his opening script. He wants to throw it, especially with a veteran quarterback like Quinn Ewers. I think the early down pass rate for Texas is going to increase even more. That's another cheat code, another loophole to help you basically find a way to exploit defenses, because defenses are built, engineered, and constructed to be run first or stop the run on early downs. That's the way they're built. Most defensive coordinators, they don't call the plays to be effective pass defense on early downs. So throw it on early downs when they're in their run defense mostly, and that's kind of the hack. And Sark uses it pretty effectively. So that's something. Also, with some run concepts, outside zone is more popular in the SEC now. If you go look at it, outside zone, wide zone is one of Sark's top 5 running concepts. Sark loves the wide zone. They call it outside zone, but the split wide zone, also a big part of Sark's offense. So that'll fit right in, translating to the SEC. 67% of Sark's offense in running is zone blocking. The counters in the SEC have increased exponentially. You got a 215% increase in the SEC play in just counters alone. Sark loves the counter tray. The GY counter. It's one of his favorite plays. The counter tray RPO is also one of Sark's most popular plays, so that also will fit right into where the SEC is trending in their running concepts. 12 personnel is the second most popular personnel grouping in the SEC. That is also the case for Sark. He says a tight end is the second most important position in his offense. So he loves 12 personnel. But you guys know I've always advocated be more exotic. Yes, 12 personnel, can be your second most utilized personnel grouping behind 11 personnel, one back, one tight end, one back, two tight ends. But use more of the 21 personnel, two backs, one tight end. Use more of the Big 11, Big 12 with your extra offensive linemen. Use more of, honestly, I think you should use more 10 personnel. I even have here 10 personnel usage has been last year was the lowest since 2019 in the SEC, 3.7% of the plays were out of 10 personnel. That's one back, zero tight ends, four wide receivers on the field. Texas is so deep at wide receiver right now. Ryan Wingo, Bowden, Golden, Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore. I mean, hell, the list goes on and on, right? Isaiah Bond. I mean, this is the deepest that Sark has had the wide receiving core at Texas since he's been here. The last time he had a wide receiving core at least close to this deep was at Alabama. Now he had 4 first-round wide receivers then, but he did have the red package where he played 4 wide receivers at the same time. Why not? That is nightmare fuel for any defensive coordinators. Matchup mismatches and matchup disadvantages across the board for the defense. You can do the same thing in Texas. You don't have 4 first-round wide receivers, but you got a lot of wide receiving talent. And in the SEC, you really could shell shock them because they don't practice against or play against a lot of teams that'll run 10 personnel. They just don't see it a lot. And they definitely don't see it with a multi-year starting quarterback, with a offensive line that's got 4 to 5 returning, and with a wide receiving core as deep as Texas has. And you could have Jaden Blue out there in the backfield, also offering another speed dynamic and a speed matchup that'll be favorable to you and advantageous to you. So I would use more of that 10 personnel package. He breaks out something new every year or so, right? You got the Big 11, Big 12 2 years ago. You got that the pony package when you first got here. I think now it's time to add something new to the repertoire. 10 personnel could be it this year. Something else, a tight bunch usage actually in the SEC is also something that is declining. Not with Sark. Sark loves tight bunch. And we talked about this earlier about compressed, condensed sets following Shanahan and that on that Mick Shanahan coaching tree. Sark is going to have a lot of condensed and compressed sets. That's declining in the SEC. It is, I think, for Sark, it's going to be increasing in usage. And why not? It's another cheat code, another loophole. I always say Sark's offense is just an accumulation, a gumbo of cheat codes and force multipliers, right? And hacks, defensive hacks. And he uses them rarely. One of them is compressed, condensed sets. Empty usage is flat now in the SEC. Another cheat code, I think, for Sark, using more empty. I've been tracking empty formation here with Sark for a while, and it is definitely one of his most lethal concepts. Should use it more. Last 3 games of the season last year against Washington, against Oklahoma State and Tech, out of empty. Quinn Ewers, over 75% completion percentage, over 30% explosive play rate, over, you go look at the first down rate, was over 50% first down rate. You were averaging over 12 yards per attempt last 3 games running empty formation. He wasn't great the entire season, probably took too many sacks out of it. Your completion percentage relatively low, but if you look at explosive play rates, empty, pony package, the Big 11, Big 12 package, your exotic looks are where you're getting more of your explosive plays from, compared to your usual explosive play rate, which is still high. Over 16% is really good. But empty, you're getting over 23, hell, this year, 25% explosive play rate. Those are unbelievable numbers. All right, so there you go. That's some trends in the SEC to follow that I think Texas could take advantage of and could actually probably set the trend in a lot of these areas too. We come back, we'll get into off the record on the side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Baby's coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Trying to get to a little off the record here. So, according to Life and Style magazine, don't ask me why I'm reading Life and Style magazine. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, apparently their love affair is quite expensive. You know, the biggest pop star in the world, obviously a celebrity, pro athlete like Travis Kelce. Apparently for them to keep their love affair going and to make sure that they, get to see each other because she's jet setting around the world and touring and keeping up appearances, and he's got obligations, especially once the season starts. They are reporting that they spend $100,000 a day together. An insider exclusively tells Life and Style how they spent $100,000. They said Taylor and Travis have become international jet setters, and their extravagant spending is off the charts. The multiple bodyguards, the private jets, the deluxe hotels, plus the romantic gestures, they're both known for probably makes them the most excessively spending couple in the world currently. The source says it's pretty extreme. Taylor's 34, Travis 34, began dating in summer of 2023. So they're basically kind of claiming in order to keep things going with all the security, and you got to buy out an entire restaurant just so y'all can have some dinner, because otherwise she'd be mobbed by paparazzi and fans. It's just, yeah. I mean, I don't know about $100,000 a day, but I'm sure it adds up over time.
I'm sure it adds up. I bet $100,000 was a day, and they were like, "Man, we'd spent $100,000 on Thursday," and the person's like, "They spent $100,000 a day," and you're like, "No, one day they spent $100,000." I'm sure they spend plenty of money, but they're also apart a lot too because they both have their own lives. And I bet they're not spending the money.
They make a lot of money too.
They do.
I mean, they make a lot. She's basically a billionaire, and he makes.
That's why he needed that new contract.
Yeah, but he just got paid. It says Travis spares no expense in making sure he travels in class when he flies to her concerts all over the world. Since they met, they've both spent over $1 million on private jets, the insider reveals. She even fills the jet with her favorite things like Joe's Kansas City barbecue, seafood, Alfredo, and all this really extravagant stuff.
Not putting seafood on a plane.
Well, on her plane you could. She got a different kind of plane, man.
But it doesn't. Don't you think
her private plane is different from most people's private planes? She's probably got a 5-star chef on her private plane.
No, I get that, but still, seafood smells, man.
Hey, not on that plane. They got different ways of getting rid of it.
You're recycling oxygen on a plane, man.
I know what I'm saying. Hey, man, that private jet's different. It said the couple has over 20 bodyguards who get paid over $1,000 a day to protect them. And the pro athlete spares no expense, it says here, to lavish Taylor with things she loves. He'll spend thousands a day just on filling her dressing room with her favorite flowers, orchids, and hydrangeas, the source says. Despite dropping significant amount of money on each other, the source says Taylor and Travis don't even think about the money they're spending. They're basically so in love. They like to be comfortable and express their love for each other. This is how they do it, the insider claims.
Must be nice.
She said Taylor has already written love songs about their romance too. She does that with all of her men, though.
Yeah.
That's part of the process for her. It's like, I date somebody, they treat me like they first of all, they love me at first, the infatuation phase. Then they end up treating me like dirt. I make a great album off of it, sell millions of those albums, and make millions off of them, and everybody gets to live, vicariously through my pain via my songs. It's brilliant. Yeah. And then her promotion essentially is the romance. It's the romance. Everybody follows the romance of her, and then follows the decay of the relationship, and then ultimately the album that follows the decay is about the relationship that we all just witnessed and watched via TMZ and everything. And it's like we get to relive it all over again via the album, then go through and find Easter eggs in the lyrics. Like, oh, did he do that? What did he do? Oh, I didn't know that. Like, I don't do that, but I'm sure other people.
I'm sure.
I don't. I'm just saying that's the process.
There at the end.
I don't know. I couldn't even name you like 3 Taylor Swift. I know she's awesome, but I'm not that. I'm not even Taylor Swift.
She's got that song "Bad Blood," right?
She's got
And then I'm sure a bunch of other ones. Shake It Off. I know Shake It Off. I know another one that got two.
Yeah. And they're amazing. They're great songs.
I mean, they're
but
songs,
it's
but
just not my thing. They're songs. They're songs. Yeah. So that's the report here. That they love each other so much that they are blinded by the amount of cash they're spending to be with each other.
yeah. And what magazine was this again?
Life and Style magazine.
How are they getting a scoop?
Dude, they're all about life and style. That's the
Yeah, but Life and Style magazine. First of all, how do magazines still get scoops? I thought magazines were dead.
I think that's a great point. But I think it's like online. That's what I'm looking at. I don't have the physical magazine. I hope they don't have a physical magazine. Maybe they do.
Unless you get signed
it's
up.
lifeandstylemag.com.
And the magazines were just for kids to come around to your house and be like, do you want to subscribe to 48 magazines?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. I remember them days. Door-to-door salesman. Y'all they still got a few people I see every now and then, but back in the day, that was you can actually make some sales door-to-door. Now there's no way people are buying stuff door-to-door.
No.
I don't know why y'all still trying to sell stuff door-to-door. Y'all need to stop it. Because ain't nobody, y'all know y'all ain't sold a damn thing.
I don't get why every door-to-door salesman that comes to my house that I greet not nicely. And I'm not rude, but I'm also like, hey, I'm not buying anything from you. You can save the pitch.
You can save the pitch.
I'm not supporting the industry of
Not
door-to-door sales. Not supporting the industry of door-to-door sales. So just move it along. Well, no. Just letting you know, the more you talk, the more angry I'm going to get about this. So I just enjoy my day. And then he came up and were like, hey, you want to spend some money you ain't got?
Oh, man.
No, I'm good.
No, the worst is when they get you when you're already outside.
Oh,
when they come knock on the door, you can avoid. But when you're already outside doing something, they walk up and you go, "Oh no!" And you first you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" They go, "Hey, how are you?" And you go, "Oh no! Oh yeah, you're dressed. Oh, you got khakis on. Oh damn it! Okay,
let me tell you about, dude. Do you know the internet exists?
Seriously, I feel bad. Like,
so
come on.
I'm gonna just tell me what website to Google, and then I'll look up to see if y'all are real or not. Can I do that at least? You just want me to trust a random person on the street?
You just want me to trust a random person? Like, yeah,
Oh.
I mean, door-to-door sales was good when people could hitchhike. Like, that's when the world was much more trusting, right? Craig Way always tells stories like he used to hitchhike, and I was like, "You hitchhiked as a kid?" He's like, "Yeah, you hitchhiked." Back then you could hitchhike. You could like get to another state hitchhiking. Somebody, first of all, the trust to get in the car with a stranger who could take you anywhere, and then the trust to go hitchhiking with somebody who just you don't know what the hell that person hitchhiking could be. It could be a mass murderer or something. You don't know. Y'all just getting in the car with perfect strangers. You don't give a damn about it. Just random strangers. No.
That's
also the world was very trusting back then.
No, it was also those road trips where we didn't have cell phones with all of the world at our fingertips to be like, I'm gonna just play this podcast or listen to this radio station I designed myself. You were like, there's nothing. I have nothing to listen to for the next 3 hours. So let me get a conversation with this random stranger on the street.
Boredom.
It's just boredom. You pick up hitchhikers. Now we got things.
That's true. That's a great point. You might be right about that, man. It's like, oh, no radio. My radio station is going on. My signal's going out. Let me pick up a hitchhiker on it.
Let's sit here in complete silence for the next 3 hours, or pick up a stranger.
I would rather drive in silence.
Yes, all of us would now. This is apparently the thing, but no, I'm with you.
Oh, so I'm sorry, door-to-door salesman. I know some of y'all out there, and God bless y'all, but what's the success rate? When was the last time you made a sale door-to-door? It ain't. I know it ain't working. You're better than that. You're better than that.
And I guarantee you, when's the last time you made a sale for someone under 80?
That's true. Yes, exactly, because those are the same people that were hitchhiking.
Yeah. Same people that want to have a conversation.
So nursing homes, that's where you need to go. Knock on that door. Then they'll be open to it. All right, here we go. We'll come back. I know we're up against it. We're way late, but we'll come back and we'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets, NFL odds on the inside right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis of Lifetime the Horn. Rod Rivers coming back on the Horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. But New Theme Thursday comes up with a new, fresh, and creative theme. And today, because today's date is 7-Eleven, so happy 7-Eleven to everybody out there. Go get you a free Slurpee if you're around near a 7-Eleven, and you definitely are around and near a 7-Eleven because they every damn where. Every song references 7-Eleven in some way, form, or fashion. And that's the theme for New Theme Thursday, 7-Eleven. So appreciate my man Patrick hooking us up there. A little salt and pepper. What a man. Yeah. All right. I didn't even remember where they mentioned 7-Eleven here.
So
Is
it's
it
like
open like
third verse, third or fourth
verse?
verse.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
Mhm.
basically a reference to the lovemaking, I believe, is open all night like 7-Eleven.
Yeah. How often when 7-Eleven is mentioned, is it about them being open all
Well,
night?
no, so they rhymed it with heaven in the first 3 songs we played.
Oh, there you go.
They were like, we gotta rhyme heaven with something, and
That's
so
true.
7-Eleven rhymed with it. But
yeah, because you can even because okay, see, there's also was it Ice Cube's Today Was a Good Day? Isn't there a 7-Eleven reference in there as well?
I
But
don't
it's
know.
7-Eleven about the dice and not 7-Eleven the store.
Oh, okay. So maybe yes.
Right? I think there's a 7-Eleven reference there in the dice, and he also, I believe makes the 7-Eleven in the heaven connection there as well. So you're right. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So just the fact that you went deep diving and found lyrics that actually reference 7-Eleven, and my man Patrick, that's why he's a real MVP, man. He's doing things that nobody else can do. All right. Also coming up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, which is posted now online. You can go check it out on the X account at the Horn ATX. The Big Fat Poll today: who will be the best quarterback in the Big 12? And Patrick wants to know if you missed. Obviously, if we missed any of them on the selections that we gave you, Shadur Sanders, Cameron Rising, Jalen Daniels, and Avery Johnson, you can just list them down below at the bottom. And Cameron Rising running away with this vote, Patrick. 52% of the respondents said that they believe Cameron Rising is going to be the best quarterback in the Big 12, followed by Jalen Daniels, then Shadur Sanders.
No love for Shadur over there.
Yeah, people don't like Shadur.
I know. Really no love for Avery Johnson.
Yeah, because when Texas played Avery Johnson, there was a lot of hype about him leading up to that game in K-State, and he did not look great at all. I mean, he looked. As a matter of fact, K-State, they didn't even play him that much. We expected to see him a lot because of the quarterback run game. We didn't see him a lot. We saw a lot of Will Howard. Now they got down, 20 points or something in that game. So Will Howard gave him the best chance of coming back, but we didn't get to see much of Avery Johnson. So I think Longhorn fans, and a lot of these folks voting, I imagine, are Longhorn fans, were unimpressed with Avery Johnson.
Yeah. And I think the other ones just are wondering why a 50-something-year-old point guard is going to be the best quarterback in the Big 12.
Cameron Rising?
Avery Johnson, the point guard for the Spurs.
Oh, well done. Right over here. Well done. I wasn't even thinking about it. I sound like Avery Johnson. I should automatically make that connection. My apologies. I was like, what? Okay, that makes sense. If some of y'all don't get the Avery Johnson reference, Avery Johnson. But Jalen Daniels is a guy, I guess maybe Longhorn fans respect him more, or at least folks voting respect him more. Cameron Rising, remember, he is a former Longhorn. So in addition to being a really good quarterback who's been around for a long time, so his name recognition there, he was once on the 40 acres, once committed to Texas.
Yeah, and I mean,
so that may have something to do with it.
And I mean, he's also had that couple of years of where he's supposed to be there, because last year if he came back, that Utah could have won the Pac-12. That was one of the predictions. It was if he could come back,
I remember that,
but just could never get back, and so they basically put it off for a year to come back this year, and now they're hoping to win the Big 12 the same way they were hoping to win the Pac-12 last year.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I mean, if he's healthy, they got more than a shot, because he's damn good when he's, like I said, available to play. But man, it's crazy. He redshirted. Yeah, Texas at 2018. He redshirted in 2018, and he's about to play
2024.
2023. That's amazing. It really is. Like I said, I wish I could have played in this era of college football, because even if you're dealing with injuries, or it's let's say it's an issue with the school or the coach leaving, compatibility, you pretty much got multiple chances to make it work for you. right? Yeah, I mean, you used to be back. One big injury could pretty much end your career because you just didn't have extra eligibility. You didn't have the ability to transfer to another program because once you get injured, they recruit past you. They don't say they do, but they do. They recruit. They have to. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. They can't just assume that you're going to come back healthy and be the player that you once was. So they recruit over you, and there's a lot of like trauma associated with that if you're a player. And now you can just transfer, fresh start, and pick your location. Look at the roster and go, I think I'm better than that dude. Do research on the system and everything. They're like, you know what? I'm transferring there. That system fits me perfectly.
Yeah.
I want to play more zone coverage. They play a lot of zone coverage. Yeah. You couldn't do that back in the day.
Fresh promises,
you could, but
too.
you had to sit out a year.
Fresh promises, new NIL.
Oh, NIL. Yeah, I ain't even mentioned. I'm not mentioning the best part. I'm talking about transferring to a school where you can play, but NIL obviously would be. And think about if you're Cam Rising. I mean, now that NIL is the law of the land, he's probably not benefiting from. But you're a guy like Dylan Gabriel. Think about how much money he's made NIL wise.
He's apparently at unlimited NIL. Now.
Now you're right. Maybe you're making more than ever now. But I mean, going to Oklahoma. I mean, Quinn Ewers has done it too. Good job for him. Going to Ohio State, then hopping up to Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, that was trust me, you sign those NIL deals, and the for the quarterback position, I think that's the most lucrative of NIL deals is for these quarterbacks, and you can sign 2 or 3 just going from program to program, like a Will Howard, somebody like that. I mean, those guys could really set themselves up for life and not even be an NFL player. You don't even need to be an NFL player if you don't really want to. If you can, great. If it works out for you, great. But man, some of these guys can set themselves up for life.
Yeah, it must throw off like
college career.
If someone didn't really pay attention to sports and someone buys a nice house down the street and they have to ask him, they're like, "Oh, how'd you make your money?" He'd be like, "Oh, I played football." He's like, "Well, you look young. Who'd you play for?" He's like, "The Jayhawks." When they get a Jayhawks in the NFL?
That's a great point. I'm not thinking about that. That would be mind blowing to me if I was in there and be like, "Oh, man, you're pretty young," and basically they're almost acting like they're retired or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're just like a student because maybe they just got done with their eligibility, but they had enough money to do it, but they didn't make it to the league, and they just were able to afford a house next to you. You're like, what? How is this possible? You're 23, 24 years old. You're not a musician or a pro athlete or some actor or something. You're just a regular old dude. Like, yeah, pretty much. No, yeah. Yeah, no trust fund money. No trust fund money. No family money. No,
transfer
really,
3 times.
Yeah, transfer 3 times. I got about $3 million out of those transfers out of NIL in that time. It's a beautiful thing. God bless these young folks. All right, so Cameron Rising is probably gonna at least in your view, he's gonna be the best quarterback in the Big 12 next year. All right, we'll get back to some more football discussion. Matter of fact, we'll talk some NFL. We'll talk a little college and NFL. I'll make that connection in Rod's rant of the day. But first, let's get updated, let's get educated, let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis. Then we'll come back and get into some of these NFL odds. But first, the Horn headlines with Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Team USA basketball started their warm-up to the Olympics with an exhibition game against Canada last night in Las Vegas, winning 86-72. USA had 4 players score in double digits, led by Anthony Edwards with 13, and Anthony Davis picked up a double-double with 10 points and 11 rebounds. Defense led the way for USA, holding Canada to 33% shooting on the night and picking up 11 steals and 9 blocks. Team USA will look to fix some of their turnover problems and get a quicker start offensively in their second tune-up game against Australia on Monday. In the MLB, the Astros pushed their home win streak to 8 games with a 9-1 win over the Marlins yesterday. A 4-run second inning gave the Astros the lead, and they never looked back with Yanier Diaz contributing 3 RBIs. Framber Valdez was able to strike out 10 in his 7 innings pitched, getting his 8th win of the season, and Caleb Ort finished out the game. Yordan Alvarez got a walk and an RBI single in the game, but he left after those with a right hip tightness. Jake Bloss will get his second career start tonight, returning from the IL after leaving his first start with shoulder discomfort in June. And the Rangers snapped their 5-game win streak with a loss to the Angels 7-2 yesterday. Michael Lorenzen gave up 5 runs in the first 3 innings, starting in the second, where he allowed 3 walks and a hit by pitch in the inning. Leody Taveras got a 2-run homer in the 5th, but it wasn't enough. However, the Rangers still win the series versus the Angels 2-1 and now get the day off before facing the Astros in a weekend series before the All-Star break. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Appreciate those. All right, let's get right to these NFL odds. And if we have time, we'll get to Rod's rant. If not, we'll table Rod's rant for next segment. Just real quick, did you? We're just talking about NIL, so I think it's appropriate to get into this story at the Big 12 Media Days when they asked Dave Aranda why his recruiting has picked up and why his recruiting's got better. He just said because we're paying the players. Straight up. That was his response.
There you go. Some
Yeah,
real honesty there.
He just said that simple. He said, no, it was like, oh, so your recruiting is doing much better. I mean, looks like it's picked up. What's been your strategy? Why is it improving? He's like, no, man, we're paying the players. We're paying players. That's it. That's why our recruiting's gotten better. And if you pay the players, your recruiting will get better too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure that meant too. Baylor ponies, a Baylor alumni ponied up for us.
Very true. Yeah, you're right.
Because they've been paying players, but now we're paying players.
paying players. But yeah, he's right about that. I mean, that's why some people are like, man, Texas is losing out on some of these recruiting battles on the recruiting trail as of late. They're taking some L's. Why is that after Texas has such a tremendous offseason? And the working theory is that, man, some of these teams and programs are just throwing out a tremendous bag.
Yeah.
And Oregon, I think, is one of the prime examples. It's like, well, if Oregon, Phil Knight is deciding that he's personally going to fund the NIL arms race for Oregon, well, if you ain't got a billionaire like Phil Knight that's willing, and like you said, Patrick, willing to do it unapologetically and without regret and without the basic expectation that you're going to get return on that investment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's shameless. Nothing
Now,
you can do about that. He's basically just saying, I'll throw stupid money at these young people.
The question will be, does he eventually get mad? Now, this could take, but if a bunch of these guys leave after a year or two and go transfer somewhere else and go, man, you paid me? Great. I didn't come to Oregon to play. I knew I wasn't going to play my first couple of years. I came to get paid from you, and then I'm going to go somewhere where I can go play because in Oregon there's too much competition, and I may not get in. So I'm going to go over here now. I'm going to go play over here and play where I wanted to play.
That's going to be more on
Dan
Lanning and the culture.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, listen, my job is to bring talent in. Your job is to maximize it, to develop it, and keep it here and keep it happy. That's your job. I got him here. All right. I paid all the money to get him here, and they got the money, so they're happy with the money. You got to make sure they're happy with the program.
Yes.
Happy with the scheme, happy with the team, the culture. That's on you, coach. I'm paying you a lot of money too. So that's your job. I did my job. If I'm in Boost, I'm like, I did my job. My job is to bring in the talent. I can't do more than that. So you're right, though. That is, we just talked about it with Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers signed an NIL deal with Ohio State, didn't play, left.
Yeah.
And that's
because you know there's going to be some attrition because there always is, and especially in good teams, you have that because your next recruiting class is coming in, and if you weren't playing before and you're a sophomore and you haven't played yet, and they're filling in a new recruiting class and you're not supposed to be the starter, I'm waiting till my senior year. Well, I'm trying to be an NFL talent. I'm gonna go make more money, so I'm gonna go transfer, make more money, transfer, and then I'm gonna train, and then hopefully get to the NFL, make more money there. So that'll be interesting to see what the transfer portal situation is for Oregon after we've heard that they're handing out big money. If they're handing out the big money, see where that ends up going.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And like even Dion in Colorado, right? That experiment's going to be interesting too, because that's an experiment in the new transfer portal mentality and NIL and mentality. I mean, they've turned over that roster twice already. Basically, Dion's like, I'm going to keep just turning it over and getting transfers until I get a group I like that can win games.
Yes.
And then it's like, well, yeah, then I guess then he's going to keep that group and then just try to add to it. But that's new. We haven't seen anything like that. No. That's 2 years in a row now. He's deciding he's turning over that roster at that rate.
Yeah. Shiloh came out and said, we got rid of the poison.
There you go. Exactly. And it's like that's a lot of poison on that team.
Man,
but I guess
y'all
only won
recruited a
4
lot
games.
of poison.
They recruited a lot of poison, man. That's like you talk about 60% of the team was poison. Then, by the way, we might be able to play this. We could have done it off the record. I told you there'd be a Deion Sanders rap song. I told you there'd be a Deion Sanders hip hop song. There was, and I don't even know how it didn't go viral. I found it came on my timeline. That's how I know the algorithm. It's listening to us. It knows. But he was rapping it and he was filming it at the Big 12 Media Days. I'll send it to you. We can hear it. You can hear him rapping the lyrics to it. But I don't. He did. It was a performance, but only for the video they were making. And I'm telling you, you could ask Deion to perform. He will perform a rap song. I'm pretty sure he will do it. I'm pretty sure Brett Yardmark gave him the platform that he would do it. Now, the time to ask him to do it would probably be now, and you don't want him to ask him to do it during the season or after the season or postseason. It would have probably been in the offseason. You should probably ask him to. Man, I'm trying to see. Whenever they got a Big 12 event of some kind, I guarantee you Deion would perform one of his rap songs if he let him. Like Deion would do it. Matter of fact, let Deion do it at Colorado and like let him so he'll have a big crowd and everything, and then you could stream it in or something like that.
Put him on game
I found
day
the rap song.
Put him on game day or what's that big noon kickoff?
Oh yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yes, the Fox version of it. I'm saying I didn't realize too he has a rap song. He was rapping about going to the Big 12 and stuff like that. So man, he might make your Big 12 like theme song. Oh, that's it. Boom. And then Gundy will get pissed, and then Gundy will make a country version of it. And him and Gary Patterson maybe get together and make a country version of it, and boom, we got the rivalry.
Geez.
Tell you, just make it happen, man. Make it happen.
Oh,
right?
I don't want to.
That's real WWE right there.
I don't want to hear either version of that.
I'm gonna send you the Deion one though. We're gonna listen to that and who said that. We're gonna do that. All right. Okay, let's get to these NFL odds real quickly. And then we'll get to Rod's rant next segment. Okay, so here are the favorites to have the most receiving yards in the NFL this season via BetMGM. Tyreek Hill's at plus 500. CeeDee Lamb's at plus 600. Justin Jefferson plus 700. Jamar Chase plus 800. A.J. Brown plus 900. Amon-Ra St. Brown is at plus 1,000. And at plus 1,500, Puka Nacua and Garrett Wilson. But at plus 1,800 is Drake London, and 28% of the money, which is the most money that's been placed on any player, 28% of it is on Drake London, more than any other player. So he's the most bet on player to currently right now at BetMGM to lead the NFL in receiving yards. I'll take CeeDee Lamb, actually. I'll take CeeDee Lamb. I think he's got a real good shot to do it. Brandon Cooks is the number 2. Brandon Cooks regressed last year, could be at the end of his rope toward the twilight of his career. Tyreek Hill's got to split some of those targets with Jalen Waddle. Justin Jefferson's got a brand new quarterback there now. Jamar Chase has also to split his reps because they got a lot of weapons there in Cincinnati. A.J. Brown's got Devontae Smith on the other side of him. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Detroit's just they run a lot of 2 tight end sets actually with Laporta and they're the tight end, so they want to get in power packages a lot of the times. Garrett Wilson, if I guess Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, Garrett Wilson's got a really good shot at that too. And Puka Nacua, I'm with you, Patrick. I don't know how Cooper Kupp plays into that. Cooper Kupp's actually done it, and I don't see him on the odds list here at all. So CD to me makes sense because the Cowboys running game is going to be lackluster to say the least. And I don't necessarily trust Brandon Cooks to rebound and get to kind of his old productivity as a receiver. I think he may be toward the end of his years as a true productive wideout that can be a true 1 or 2. I think he may be past that. I had to look and see how old he is, but he's just been around a lot of teams, and now the injuries are starting to pile up from a little bit too.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. The lack of a running game as well. Brandon Cooks is 30.
Damn, it feels like he's older than that.
Well, it's because he's been traded 97 times.
That's why it feels older. You're right. He's not that old then. I take that back. I don't know why I felt like he's older. He's definitely regressed, but he's not old. So I'm wrong about that. Damn.
No, but I mean, that's where you sit. And like Amari Cooper is an interesting one. If Deshaun Watson stays healthy, said earlier, Garrett Wilson's an interesting one. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. because I don't know how many other weapons they really have in that offense right now for the Jets. So you say if he stays healthy, does he become somebody? We know that what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams did when they were together. So if we can put that into that world, it's maybe somebody, who knows what that Bears offense is going to be, but they have good wide receivers over there as well. But they may have too many good wide receivers. Yeah. Keenan Allen was actually 4th in yards per game last year, and for the Chargers, and he's on the Bears.
I didn't realize that actually.
Yeah, and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, there's too many weapons that he may that he'll stay around where he's at, which was 94 yards a game last year. I think he'll stay around that. And so if you're talking about the most yards, you probably want Tyreek Hill was the most yards per game at 112. So that's where you want to be about to try and be the most yards in the season is that world.
He was on track for like 2,000 receiving yards at one point early in the season.
Yeah.
I mean, he was killing them. Slowed down just a little bit because, I just think you can't let Tyreek Hill, you just can't let that one guy beat you. So teams started putting safeties over the top of him, double teaming them. And that's when Jalen Waddle decided to start going off. And that's why they paid him the big bucks too. All right, here are your favorites to have the most rushing yards in the NFL this season via BetMGM. Christian McCaffrey at plus 300, Jonathan Taylor at plus 400, Saquon Barkley at plus 500, Breece Hall at plus 750, Bijan and Derrick Henry, each at plus 1,000, and Kyron Williams is plus 1,200. 44% of the money is actually on Zamir White, who is plus 3,000 to have the most rushing yards. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's the Las Vegas thing.
That one confuses me. But it's
stupid money. I have no idea why he would
I get Josh
there.
Jacobs did well there last year. Josh Jacobs has done well in Vegas, but Zamir White has never he averaged more yards per carry than Josh Jacobs did last year, I guess. So maybe they think he's going to step into that role. He was okay last year, but his longest run was 15 yards. I feel like you're going to need some more chunk plays to get up there and lead the league, but I guess they figured they don't have a quarterback. They're just going to hand the ball off.
That's true. Maybe you're right. Actually, that probably is it. That's might be the reason why. Because they probably figured they're just going to run the ball.
But they're going to throw it.
And run the route.
They have Devontae Adams. They're going to throw the football some.
Yeah, you got to. But who's going to throw it to him?
Aiden O'Connell, man. O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell. Yeah, they're going to run the rock a lot. But I don't know if that dude's going to lead the league in rushing. There's a picture of him going viral, too. Have you seen this where he's like really yoked? And I think that has also contributed to it. I have no idea. All right. This is also from BetMGM. This is actually from their website. So this is their information. BetMGM odds to have the most passing touchdowns this season. Patrick Mahomes plus 500. Dak Prescott plus 600. CJ Stroud, along with Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins, tied at plus 700. And Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, and Jordan Love at plus 1,000. Most of the bets, or at least most of the money, bet on Aaron Rodgers to throw the most touchdowns. He's at 38%. I'd like the value there of CJ Stroud, though, man. CJ Stroud, adding all those weapons, I definitely could see him in the mix there, too. And this is basically in the same realm. Odds to have the most passing yards in the NFL this season. Patrick Mahomes plus 500. CJ Stroud plus 600. Dak Prescott plus 750, along with Jared Goff. And then at plus 800, you have Joe Burrow. Tua is at plus 850, and every other quarterback is plus 1,200 or longer odds to lead the NFL in passing yards. Most of the bets, 14% of them, have been on CJ Stroud to throw the most yards. I think CJ Stroud could lead the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns. Well, he led the NFL in passing yards last year, did he not? If I'm not mistaken. Passing yards and touchdowns.
Yeah.
Last year was in a touchdown interception ratio, and I wouldn't say it was passing yards. I could be off about that. I know it was touchdown interception ratio. I remember that. But honestly, I think CJ Stroud good value on both of those to lead the adding Stephon Diggs and then had Nico Collins become a true number one wide receiver. And then you got Dalton Schultz, Tank Dell totally healthy. The offensive line was a mass unit last year. They'll be healthier. Bobby Slope was a first-year play caller, the rookie quarterback. So both of those elements are expected to improve as a play caller and the rookie quarterback himself, CJ Stroud. I think that's a good bet to me. That's I don't, seems like a sure bet. Seems like a sure bet, but at least it would definitely be the one I'd be most confident in. I think C.J. Stroud is definitely going to take a huge leap next season. Okay, let's get to the break here. We'll have Roger Rant on the other side. I went deep down the rabbit hole after I saw a stat actually related to the Houston Texans and Nico Collins, and at the end of that rabbit hole, after researching that stat, found myself on the 40 acres researching Steve Sarkisian. I'll tell you why that was the case when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It's time to get into Rod's rant of the day. And I'm going to go down the rabbit hole a little bit here. I was looking at a stat, and it was from yeah, actually, I got it from it's basically a cumulative stat. Pro Football Focus for some of this because I was looking at yards per route run, and actually, Fantasy Field Vision is the other spot where I got some of this information. So, if you are looking at yards per route run, which is the kind of the new advanced metric to determine efficiency and effectiveness of different wide receivers. If you look at yards per route run for receivers who had at least 400 plus routes and receivers who were able to achieve at least 3 yards per route run since 2010. So that is the cutoff. 3 yards per route run, and at least 400 routes run. All right. And since 2010, so in the last 14 years, the wide receivers that actually met this criteria Victor Cruz, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, and Nico Collins. Started with Nico Collins, and then I found all these other ones. So these are the 7 wide receivers who are able to, at one point in the last 14 years, get to 3 yards per route run with at least 400 routes run. And the point of the 400 is that they're high volume wide receivers running a lot of routes, and the 3 yards per route run just shows their efficiency. Now, Tyreek Hill's been the best wide receiver in the NFL, in a lot of people's opinion, the last couple of years. And in 2022 and 2023, he achieved it. Nico Collins in 2023, just let you know how underrated that dude is. Brandon Ayuk also did it in 2023. We had 3 players do it in 2023. In 2022, Tyreek Hill did it. In 2021, you had Cooper Kupp did it. That was that year where he had the triple crown of receiving. In 2017, in 2016, and in 2015, Julio Jones did it in 3 straight years. Just talk about a dominant receiver. And Andre Johnson and Victor Cruz did in 2012. So the connection with these players is that most of them played in offenses that are connected to or from that McShanahan coaching tree. Starting with Andre Johnson in 2012, Shannon was on that staff with the Texans, I believe, until 2011, and I believe he leaves. But Gary Kubiak, it was actually from the Mike Shanahan coaching tree. So from the original Shanahan coaching tree, and Andre Johnson achieved 3 yards per route run in that season. Julio Jones did in 2015 and 16. My boy Kyle Shanahan is the offensive coordinator for those teams. And in 2023, Kyle Shanahan is the head coach and play caller for the 49ers when Brandon Ayuk does it. Cooper Kupp in 2021, that's Sean McVay, also from the McShanahan coaching tree. Tyreek Hill in 2022 and 23, Mike McDaniel from the McShanahan coaching tree. And 2023, Nico Collins, Bobby Slowick from the McShanahan coaching tree. Now, there are 2 outliers here. Victor Cruz in 2012, Kevin Gilbride was the offensive coordinator, old run and shoot offensive coordinator from the Oilers days. Remember him and Buddy Ryan and the fight on the sideline? That Kevin Gilbride, that dude. Yeah. So that's a total outlier. No connection at all. There are always exceptions to the rule. But then the other one was 2017 Julio Jones, and the offensive coordinator and play caller was Steve Sarkisian. And this was part of Sark's evolution as a play caller when he really became obsessed with that McShanahan coaching tree. He was following the best offense in the NFL in 2016. Matt Ryan was coming off an MVP season. They were coming off a Super Bowl appearance. And Sark was humble enough to say to himself, I'm not going to change too much of this offense. I want to infuse my principles and my system, but I want to do it by really starting to connect as many of these staples between his ideas and Shano's ideas as he could. So as much connective tissue as he could find, he wanted to keep it. So, excuse me, he had his 2 back sets. Shano runs more 21 personnel than everybody, but Sark's version of it was 2 tailbacks instead of a fullback. He used that with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. And he started to adopt a lot of the conceptual signatures from Shano, that a lot of the cheat codes, a lot of the hacks, and a lot of the different force multipliers he used. Really high rates of play action pass, really high rates of pre-snap motion, which we talked about. These are all signatures of a Shanahan offense. You go look at the top teams in pre-snap motion in the NFL right now. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all from the McShanahan coaching tree. Miami, San Fran, LA Rams, Green Bay Packers. And that's just that'll always be the case. That's one of the things you learn. I think Houston will probably be in there next year. So one of the things you really learn from the Shanahan coach is all the different advantages and what a cheat code pre-snap motion and targets to motion are. The play action pass rates are always through the roof. Sark with Quinn last year, Quinn had more play action pass dropbacks than any quarterback in college football because that's part of the formula, right? In the Shanahan offense is lots of deception-based passing game. Mike McDaniel and Kevin O'Connell, both from the McShanahan coaching tree, led the NFL in the rate of play action last season. That's also part of it, and that's something else that Sark picked up on. One of the other, I think, connective concepts between the Shannon offense and Sark that he has basically now kind of taken as his own is formational width. Nobody in the NFL has more condensed, more compressed formations than the Shanahan clan, than the McShanahan coaches. If you go look at in terms of yards, so average formation width in measured in yards, the 49ers they have the lowest average formation width in the NFL. 19.7 yards, really condensed, compressed sets. The Rams are second lowest, 20. Miami, third lowest, 21.2. Houston, fourth lowest, 21.7. Knows the trend, right? These are all the mix. So another conceptual signature that he wanted to connect to his philosophy offensively. And he uses a lot of condensed, compressed sets, reduced sets of the receivers, reduced splits for the receivers. That is also, like I said, from the McShanahan coaching tree. And all of these little different cheat codes, they're obviously ways for these coaches to maximize the talent of those specific receivers and to scheme them open better. And I think that's what that yards per route run really talks about, the ability to scheme a receiver open, to scheme open yardage. And nobody does better in college football. Actually, I'm on the Power 5, and it's actually a real stat. When I was looking at it from a data scientist, Texas actually had more schemed open yardage last year than any other team in the Power 5. They call it catch separation. It's just schemed open. How open is a guy when he's, in terms of the nearest defender in yardage to the targeted receiver. So I kind of look at it as these are schemed open throws, and Sark does a really good job. Texas led the Power 5 in catch separation. That's when they caught the football, how far were they from the nearest defender? And then Texas is also top 5 in yards after the catch. And we know the McShanahan offense are also yak daddy offense. They depend a lot on yak yardage, and that's where you get these big explosive, prolific numbers in yards per route run as well. Is when you get guys schemed open, and then they can get the yards after the catch and then run after the catch guys. So it's real interesting how Sark's transition really started there. So he's not a McShanahan coach from the coaching tree. He's just about 2-3 branches removed from it, but the influences are all over Sark's offense. And I think actually he could increase a lot of those conceptual signatures that connected him to that tree. But so there's 7 players who have achieved this feat with the cutoff being at least 400 routes run and gotten 3 yards per route run since 2010. So in last 14 years. Victor Cruz, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Nico Collins. 7 players. It's happened 10 times because you got Tyreek Hill and Julio Jones have done it multiple times over a 14-year span. And how many different play callers and coaches? Bobby Slowick, Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, Shano twice, Gary Kubiak, Sark, and Kevin Gilbride. So you got 7 coaches, and 6 of those coaches were essentially either from the McShanahan coaching tree or like Sark. They have basically been an admirer of it, or they're 2 branches removed. I don't think that's a coincidence. And if you do it from the last 10 years, then you go look at receivers who were able to get to achieve 3 yards per route run in the last 10 years or so. It's all the Shanahan receivers, because then you remove the Victor Cruz one. Victor Cruz removed, and then the Andre Johnson one ends up being removed out of that, and then it's just all Shanahan, make Shanahan and Shanahan coaches after that. So like I said, the more recent your breakdown is or analysis is, you realize it is definitely something in common with that coaching tree, and I think it's also because they do a masterful job of scheming mismatches. They do a really good job. Actually, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan's in this category too. Mike McDaniel, and Andy Reid's in this category too. They have the lowest rates of wide receiver targets versus cornerbacks in the league, which means they scheme their wide receivers to be matched up oftentimes on linebackers and safeties more than cornerbacks. That is the true brilliance. That's how you know you're a brilliant play designer, and Sark is in that category. All right, we come back. We got who said that, and I'm gonna spoil it for you. It's Dion. I believe we got Dion's latest, or at least sneak peek into Dion's latest rap hip hop song that he's doing. I don't know if he's doing it for the Big 12 or for his celebration of Colorado moving to the Big 12. But I found it, and we'll play it for you on the other side right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a new theme Thursday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, comes up with a creative and new theme for the day. And today, since it is 7/11, that's the date. All these songs reference 7/11, so it's a shout out to 7/11 in so many ways. So we appreciate my man Patrick working hard for us. Also, we appreciate him coming up with the topic for the Big Fat Poll today, which is also posted at the Horns X account, the Horn ATX, the Big Fat Poll today. Who will be the best quarterback in the Big 12? He says, missed one, and you got a hot take about it. You can leave that in the comments below. But your choices are Shadur Sanders, Cameron Rising, Jalen Daniels, Avery Johnson, and Cameron Rising running away with this thing. 50% of the votes say that he's going to be the best quarterback in the Big 12 next season. All right, speaking of the Big 12, it's time for Who Said That, and we're going to spoil it for you a little bit here. But Deion Sanders was at Big 12 Media Days. And I don't know, I found this via a Colorado Buffalo Twitter account. And I believe this is a new song. This is not one of Deion's old rap songs, but Deion seemed to be filming a video for this song at Big 12 Media Days. My idea is for Brett Yardmark to give Deion a platform and let him perform for the Big 12 on one of their, I don't know. They do a lot of these different like entertainment aspects and elements to some of the tournaments and postseason competitions. Let Deion perform at one of those because I think he would do it. And this might be the song that you hear.
So they impressed. No, I don't stress, cause you know I'm staying blessed. I'm coming, baby. I'm not to you, I came. The lights don't blind. See, I'm used to the pain. Crime, been crime. I'm up on my time. 7 figure hit, I'm way back since 89. It ain't been good to me. The hood been good to me. God been good to me. Time for you to see the weight of the people weight heavy. Jesus in the blueprint and turn up every phone. Cause
Boulder in there, so that's why I think it's new. Yeah. I heard Boulder in there, so that's why I think it's relatively new. Maybe it's like a remix to Must Be the Money. But I heard Bowie said something about carrying the weight of the people on my shoulders, and then he put in the Boulder in reference to Boulder, Colorado. So I think it's relatively new. Deion's making new music now, man.
Yeah, maybe a remix, but he's gonna make something, a hype video for next season.
I think. That's what they probably would play it on the jumbotron. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, it's a hype video.
They're gonna play a little Deion. Yeah, that's right. A little snippet from it, whatever it is. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, it's gonna happen. If Brett Yardmark needs to take advantage of this, man. If Deion wants to be. He wants to be a someone who's an exhibitionist and he wants to be a performer. Let him do it. Give him a platform, man.
So we think that Colorado is now going to come out to Deion Sanders. You think they're going to come out to that song?
Or Shadur's. Remember, Shadur's got a rap song too.
Yeah, but Shadur's is not a come out to get you pumped up for a game.
It's too soft. Yeah, you need something that's a little that bangs. You need something a little bit hardcore. I don't know. Deion's might be too soft too to come. It's not hype music.
But if he's got a whole album ready.
Maybe he's got some hype music ready to go. Yeah, give it like Lil Jon, Deion. Do like a song with Lil Jon or something. Lil Jon do something with you. Make some good hype music there. All right. Thank you, Patrick, for everything you do, brother. We appreciate it as always. Thank you guys out there for listening. As always, we appreciate you even more. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. Remember, we love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, same channel. Hook 'em and peace.